lead to Trump somehow being less corrupt than the Democrats? Where's the connection here to the actual topic?
Yeah, so
I think the easiest way to explain this, I think, and maybe I'm speaking for Speeding with here, is that the way I'm looking at it. I'll you know what? I'll just grant it because we're talking the Comey thing's the 86-47 thing, right? I think like let's just I'll understand it's corrupt. Fuck it, let's just grant that. The issue that I think that Stream Riff and I are having, I think maybe we're missing each other, is, and I said this in my opening. Trump is like the populist outsider. He's definitely not the neocons, right? He's not the traditional Republicans. He's not a Texas independence guy. He's like a new thing, right? He's barely Republican. He's a New York 90s Democrat, right? And so when we get him in here, yeah, he might be corrupt, but he's a grenade. We threw him in there to go blow this shit up because the current
is corrupt.
System, sure, maybe, but he's not as corrupt as the inherent system that the Dems have set up at every single level, from local to national, where we're seeing these things now with the voting fraud. We're seeing this with the illegal immigration desires. We're seeing this with the feedback loop from the NGOs.
Can we just
wait, Gibbs.
James brought up.
Well, just wait. So Gibbs. I've heard this before. Yes, okay, I've heard this before, and I asked you for evidence that, and we got to sanctuary cities, and I said, okay, evidence of sanctuary cities allowing illegals to vote in order to corruptly entrench Democrats into power. You gave me the examples of Oakland and San Francisco. That's
those are good examples, right? Sure. Yeah, those are good ones.
Okay. So I decided. I assume that I hope we're all going to trust Ballotpedia. I decided to look it up. I wanted to figure out what's actually going on.
For this discussion, we certainly.
I hope the Republicans won, but for the illegal vote, that would be base.
Sure. So I wanted to see the history of non-citizen voting in the United States, and I found 3 cities, in fact, and Oakland, San Francisco, and D.C. Those are the 3 cities that allow it. And I was like, okay, so what's actually happening in these 3 cities? And it turns out for Oakland, it's only for the school board. It's not actually for like any real elections of substance.
But that's what I'm talking about, though. Hold on.
Well, sure. I understand, but it's very weak evidence for your case, though. Like the fact that illegals can vote for people on a school board is not evidence that the Democrats have this entire entrenched system that goes all the way up to the top and. It's weak evidence for that claim.
Well, actually, I disagree with you vehemently on this, and I think this is where we're having another problem. Is y'all keep looking at this at the national, right? I actually think it's much more dangerous at the local, where elections are decided on like Harrodsburg, 20 votes, 8 votes, 100 votes. They have runoffs over these smaller. That I think is more important. And when we have things like the school board, these are what's controlling the education of our kids going.
That's
forward.
More important than foreign policy, the wars, the Qatar deals. It's more important. So what you're trying to say with a straight fucking face is that this school board election is more important when it comes to corruption, than our entire foreign policy, our Department of Justice being implicated in it, that this school board election. Okay, you are all fucking unreasonable hacks.
I also want to point out. Hold on,
Dev, go.
Is that for both Oakland and San Francisco? They allow non-citizen residents, which means people who are in America illegally who aren't citizens. By the way, I don't agree with that. I think it's a bad policy.
Residents? Wait.
Yes.
Did you say non-citizen residents?
Non-citizen residents. I know. Yeah. It's not illegal immigrants.
A non-citizen resident is not an illegal immigrant. So to be clear, is it the case or is it not the case that that illegal immigrants are allowed to vote in this election?
Well, that's the thing.
In Oakland and San Francisco.
Do you know or do you not know Gibbs and Stream Refs? Do you know or do you not know whether
illegal immigrants are voting in federal elections?
No. The question is, is it allowed under state and local law for illegal immigrants to vote in these elections? Yes or no? Or do you know?
It's likely, and I wouldn't have any objection.
Is it allowed under the law?
Under local elections, this is why it's important because California identifies legal residents.
Here, I'll read it for you, okay?
Okay, read the law. Read the law. Let's hear the law.
Okay, so
I have the law right here as well.
So the amendment was, shall the measure to amend the city charter to allow the city council by adopting an ordinance to authorize voting by non-citizen residents who are the parents, legal guardians, or legally recognized caregivers of a child for the office of Oakland School Board Director, if they are otherwise eligible to vote under state and local law, be adopted. And then that amendment was approved with 67%.
Yeah, this is the issue.
That's allowing non-citizens to vote, right?
Hold on. I just want to
non-citizens, but not illegals because they are in the country legally.
Hold on. This is the problem. Dev, you are absolutely correct when you say non-citizen residents does not necessarily mean illegals, right? And I would grant you that most of the time in most of the country that would be true. However, California also does, and you can look this up. They issue undocumented immigrants are allowed to obtain state's driver's license and state's identification, and then they classify those people no longer as illegal, but as non-citizen residents, even though the federal government is still going to classify them as legal. So when you have a distinction at a state and a federal level, and this is where I thought federalism occurred in the Civil War, we established the federal government gets this, their definitions supersedes the other guy. And so when we're sitting here looking at this, yeah, absolutely, they do have illegal immigrants voting in their local elections.
Okay, here's what we're going to do in the interest of time. I'm going to read the rest of my I'm going to give you guys closing thoughts, closing statements. I apologize for the technical issues today. I apologize to my viewers. I don't know what happened, but we lost internet for a while. I'm going to give each of these lovely individuals closing thoughts. Then I'm going to go through these super chats. And then if you'd like to stay for call-ins, we have some call-ins that would like to talk to you, and you'd be welcome to do so. Okay, with that, I'm going to give the last word to Streamer. So Pisco, then Dev, then Gibbs, then Streamer. Pisco, close us out.
It is pathetic, right? So we started this conversation by raising a bunch of substantive corruption stuff, and not any of them were seriously contested by our opposition. They had nothing to say about the corrupt pardons, nothing to say about the attack on law firms, nothing to say about the cover-up of the Epstein files, nothing to say about the political prosecutions. They said that the slush fund wasn't corrupt, even though it was a collusive lawsuits. And the examples they brought up of Democratic corruption include like straight up policy disagreements or situations in which, in their mind, the Democratic representatives are not listening to honestly to the will of their voters, as though those were corrupt. And instances where they were just flatly contradicted by the facts, including when we were asking for examples on their sanctuary city corruption theory, about when that led to the kind of broader systemic corruption they were pointing to. And they were just debunked time and time again, specifically debunked on the Des Moines situation of the superintendent, specifically debunked on the rationale regarding why the lawsuit was filed in the collusive slush fund case. And in every one of these, you had nothing but deflection to matters of political disagreement regarding immigration policy. I think at one point he brought up trans policies. What the fuck does that have to do with corruption? Just absolutely nothing. Nothing to say. In James Comey, they think the James Comey indictment is above board, but they have a problem with the Letitia James civil case because they've never read the legal theory on the Letitia James case and why, notwithstanding the fact that you have a bank who doesn't really care that they were defrauded, that you can still have someone be defrauded, and it not being an element contained within common law fraud as understood in New York court. But they don't know that shit. They don't know that shit because they haven't done the research. They haven't done the cases. And the people who have done the research, the conservatives that are a little bit intelligent, or at least are aware of the track record here, they all acknowledge that Trump is historically corrupt. That's why they got to bring out these bozos and no one else, these low IQ nimrods, to come and make these kind of like basically filibuster nonsense arguments, half drunk, half slurring, and it has nothing to do with the actual obvious facts before you, which are the historic levels of corruption, abuse by this administration, and nothing even coming close from the Democrats. Thank you very much. I'm going to stay around for Collins and appreciate Wick.
Yeah, thank you. This has been a crazy debate, but here we are. Dev, go ahead.
So I do think that it's telling that we spent most of the time talking about Democrat corruption and almost no time talking about Trump corruption, when there is significantly more Trump corruption, in my opinion. One thing that we didn't get to, I'll just very briefly touch on it now, are all the pardons that Trump has handed out. So we have Jason Gallané for $200 million of corruption, Joseph Schwartz, $38 million. I think these are finance guys. Lawrence Duran, $205 million of Medicare fraud. Carlos Watson, $60 million of investor fraud. Trevor Milton, $20 million of investor fraud. Todd Chrisley, $30 million bank fraud. Julie Christie, $30 million bank fraud. Devin Archer, $60 million tribal bond scheme. George Santos, $1 million multiple fraud schemes. The list goes on, and these are all people that are Trump's friends that have committed fraud. They have been found guilty of this stuff, and Trump has pardoned them. That is ridiculous. It is insane how much corruption is just pouring out of the Trump administration right now.
Thank you for being here, Dev.
Thank you.
Gibbs.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been fun. Yeah, I think it's pretty clear. There's a reason, like Dev said, that we talked about Democratic fraud is because every time I open the door, I get slapped in the face with more Democratic fraud. It's like breathing air to these people. They're so entrenched with their degeneracy and their corruption that they can't even see what's in front of them. Yeah, and it's pretty obvious that's what happened. We got really in depth with it, and I mean, I really look forward to another debate by Pisco where he claims he won and then deletes the VOD because he took a huge whooping from Papa Gibbs again, because this is about the third or fourth time that's happened. If you go check it out, every time I debate him, he deletes it because he took a whooping behind a woodshed. And I'm just saying that's really the fact. Now, if you like anything I had to say, and you hated everything I had to say, you find me over as Admiral Gibbs. And thanks again for having me.
Well, thank you for
wait, real quick. I unlist all of my VODs and put them into a playlist, as is oftentimes standard.
So you're saying he's right.
Streamers. And but to be clear, you have been featured on numerous of my most popular debate videos, and so it's just not the case that you've ever impressed anyone with your bullshit.
I got no idea whether
just
truth
real
quick,
Pisco.
Let's give it to.
Don't delete this one just in case, because we missed like half an hour of the debate when Wick was
gone. I'm sorry about that. It wasn't half an hour.
Yeah, you can't. By the way, that was supreme bloviating you did while he was gone.
Okay,
my VODs are all available. I don't know. I don't delete my VODs.
Fair enough.
Okay,
I want to give it. Last word to Mr. Streamrift. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks to everybody being here, and especially Dev. I'll close on this. You're right. We didn't spend a lot of time talking about Trump, partially because the framing of is the Trump admin as corrupt, is a corrupt policy over 4 decades is just heavily weighted in one direction. By Dev's numbers, 3 to 4 billion. I would put, even if we triple that, let's call it 10 billion. The amount of money that the DNC has been able to funnel through manipulating the congressional representation to pass laws that set the budget and move money where they want is estimated on my research around 10 to 11 trillion dollars. So when that much money is getting funneled out the door, and we have people in Congress that are 70, 80% of them are voting, they're voting consistently against their voters. When their voters make it clear that there's certain policies they want illegals guilty of crimes deported. They want men out of women's sports. They want to see some very specific things, and they're not getting them. Voter ID is the perfect example, probably the best one to end on. Majority of Democrats actually want voter ID, as do Republicans. The only reason it's a partisan issue is because the organizations like the DNC, which is far more corrupt than Trump, manipulate the way that American policy gets executed against the will of the people, which is the definition of corruption. And with that, I will just end again by saying thank you so much, Wick, for graciously hosting this, and Pisco, fuck you.
Okay, wonderful. I'm glad we all ended on a happy note, mostly. Let me read some of these super chats, and we'll bring in some. And I'm gonna rapid fire these because I have to go through another site, because unfortunately I was disconnected enough that it doesn't come up on my main site, so I have to do this the old-fashioned way. $2 from Dude Man Zoo. Say ponder the orb, Wick. Okay, thanks for the $2. $2 from Testicle Johnson. Pisco was dishonest about what Streamrift said. I'm not.
Like, they can't point to any specifics, by the way.
Cheers.
Just note that there's 0 specifics. What was I dishonest about what Streamrift said?
I don't know. Testicle Johnson, super chat me more money and tell me. $5 from Dr. Adam, Brigadier General, to say wonderful panel. Discount Hassan, Kami Dev, Gibbs the drunk mumbler, Wick the wicked wizard, and some random streamer. Interesting panel today. LOL.
Yeah,
well,
if you complain, if you're
I'm
conservative, that you're and you're unsatisfied with the representation on this panel, just think about what that says for the people who are definitely in the space and who talk about a lot of corruption, Democrat corruption, but are unwilling to engage. What does that tell you about?
You're such filth that they won't show up for you. That's what my read was.
I personally.
And Gibbs is a nice guy.
$10.
Believe the best way to win is let the Dems talk, and Pisco's proving it today.
$10 from Soda Rush. Just looked up where the most fraud happens in the U.S. by states. Florida and Georgia immediately came up. California, in some stats, seems to come up as second, but the formers are first and third. Thank you for $10. $10 from Pondering Politics. Is it corrupt to receive money from fraudsters? I don't know if MAGA wants to go down that road, considering how many have given Trump money and Trump has pardoned some.
Yeah, like the reason we were trying to ask for standards of corruption is if you say, like, for example, in the Keith Ellison, that whole bullshit rabbit hole, that him being in the presence of a fraudster shows that he was tacitly endorsing fraud, then holy fuck. I mean, we just have so much evidence.
But when the nonpartisan
convicted fraudsters,
but the nonpartisan watchdog was told them about the corruption, and then they turned it away. So when the nonpartisan watchdogs,
totally non-responsive to what I just said.
It's not just association.
Your standard, if your standard for corruption is
happened,
physical presence,
look at it.
Well, hold on. You remember he's complaining about our standards. Your standard was out just alleged. So I mean,
that's right.
I think
his opening standard was
that was his opening standard.
So we have the first of all, no. In terms of some of our corruption examples, there have been cases regarding the corruption, including, by the way, courts that have found that the slush fund is unconstitutional, illegal. There are some of the cases that we're talking about are.
Isn't it great that we have the judiciary to hold this accountable? So in case there actually was corruption, that they're holding accountable through the judiciary.
So I'm contesting the claim that Gibbs just said that all of our claims are allegations. No, there have been some determinations made by.
That's not what his claim was. He said that you start off with the alleged.
He did just say that. I don't know if you have like some kind of like dementia or something. He just said all they have. He said, according to our standards, he said, you're talking shit about our standards. He said, all you have is allegations. So you just said, so what you just said was, what you just said is, you're complaining about our standards. All they have is allegations. All they have is allegations. And I'm saying, no, that's not the case.
Okay, stop. Well, all of you stop. All of you stop. First of all, you're fighting on every single fucking $5 super chat, and fair enough, right? But second of all, and this is to Gibbs and to Streamrift, and to Streamrift specifically, are all allegations equal?
That's not. No, hold on.
So let me answer Wick. Gibbs, let me just answer Wick. Go ahead, Wick.
We don't want to go down there. Yeah. Of course.
Are all allegations equal, right? Like, are some allegations perhaps more weighty, more credible?
No, they're not. And let me finish my point. Gibbs, hold up. Pisco's opening, he went so far during his fucking 15, 20-minute monologue that he said, if we're going off of alleged, he introduced the standard alleged at the beginning. I took notes. You stupid fuck.
So just to be clear, I know exactly what I said. What I said was with respect to what I said was with respect to Andrew McCarthy, and what his claim was that the amount of corruption, even compared to that which is alleged. And when I said alleged there, I didn't just mean any crazy person.
Got it.
I absolutely said alleged. As alleged,
you also said the standard was alleged.
As alleged.
That's what
I get it.
So this
I still want to answer my question.
I'm gonna
$20
finish.
fight for a $5.
So only a bad faith piece of shit, 2 IQ moron like these two individuals would interpret when I say that to mean anything that someone says, including right now, if I just come up with this and say Trump did this.
Yeah,
bullshit.
Can we understand?
They're hacks.
Yeah, can we understand that?
It's bad faith.
When normal, hold on, stop. I want to answer my questions. Are all allegations created equal? I think the obvious answer is no. Correct?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Correct. So when we're talking about, at least, hold on, stop. So when we're talking about allegations in this context of this debate, we're going to assume that these allegations are credible allegations. I wouldn't bring up the allegation from some dude who DM'd me saying that Trump killed his dog, right? Like, just randomly. And that I would just discount that. Like, I would just discount that, even though it is technically an allegation. So when we're talking about allegations, we're talking about, and we could have talked about this during debate, but no one decided to, right? Like, what is good? What is a credible allegation that
I made this point, and y'all cut me off. I made this point. My point was, he said verbatim, he didn't just do the little thing where he said, in response to whatever. He also said, the standard is alleged. That was his exact words.
What are you talking about?
So, listen, you go back and watch the VOD if you want, but those were his exact words. And I keyed on that. And
what does that even mean? The standard is alleged.
That's a good question. Maybe you should have thought about before putting your opening. But
no. So,
I mean, these verbatim what you said, and that's why I ran with the stupidity of why don't we just take everything Alex Jones said.
I was stupid because you misinterpreted.
I'm sorry. Hold on. No. I'm gonna finish now. No, you can be mad because I caught you with your misphrased words. And listen, if you use words poorly, and you get got,
this is such a shit show.
Has gone to your head, and
you got.
We got. Look, we
gotta let Wick run his show.
I may mumble, but I don't.
The claim was very easy to understand. For people whose blood alcohol content is in a normal range, it's easy to understand.
You should maybe drink some alcohol.
The claim is simple. The allegations.
We're never going to get to callers.
It's very clear. I'm going to correct the record.
Correct it quickly.
You don't don't have to correct record. We can just go back and watch the VOD.
It is very clear to anyone with a normal blood alcohol content that when I was saying
not you, because you don't even know what you said. So you got the drug
amnesia of the corruption that when I was using the term alleged, that what I was comparing, so it's very clear that when I was using the term, so it was very clear. 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 It was very clear when I was using the term alleged. When I was using the term alleged, it was in the context of comparing the magnitude of fraud and corruption done by one side, and that even the amount that is as alleged as to the Bidens as alleged in the formal allegations.
You're right. He's right.
Not close to it.
Okay, $10 from Pondering Politics. Trump is underwater in every major policy area and every major poll, and is the most unpopular president in modern times. By his logic, Trump is entrenching himself in power over the will of the people. And I'm just going to keep going, right? $5 for Polish.
There you go.
Round of applause to StreamRift for giving the most MAGA-adjacent pandering definition of corruption, while Trump does nothing he was elected to do. $10.
Yeah, they didn't have it.
No, we are not. Hold on. I'm just going to read these because you guys cannot be trusted to shut the fuck up and give a $5 answer to a $5 super chat. You just can't. None of you. You're all children. Okay? $10 from Star Wars and Bacon. How much do we need to donate to never hear Gibbs again? Give me $1,000 and I'll kick him from the panel right now. Dude doesn't understand basic English. $1,000. That's my price. Star Wars and Bacon. You can hit me up and we can figure that out. Pondering Paul and no, hold on. Never again. $10,000. Okay. $1,000 for a year ban. How's that? Okay. Pondering Politics for $10. The census counts all persons, not just citizens. It's been adjudicated by courts in SCOTUS. The last census was performed under Trump. Wrong on all counts. Thank you for the $10.
That's law.
$5 from Alishness. Insane Republicans complain about the census while they benefit overwhelmingly from the Electoral College. Are we agreeing that
Absolutely
is
true.
corruption?
No, the Electoral College is based.
$2 from Psychor. Did Lil Bro just drop a racial slur?
I think I heard one potentially of these, whatever he said about the states, the Democratic states.
Okay, I don't know.
Seems to be a
I have
griper,
to go back and look. But just I'll say this: if you did say a racial slur, do not do that on my show. Okay.
Yeah, I don't do them on shows. I don't know if
okay.
it's me.
I
get accused of
hear it, but people are saying that you did, StreamRift.
No, I disavow.
Did you say shit? So I just want to.
Yeah, it was you, and you said shit skin. Yes.
Stain.
Okay.
Stain. A shit stain. Like when you don't wipe your ass.
You definitely said skin. And I know my 4chan slurs, so I know what that means.
Okay. Don't do that. And if you do it again, we're going to have a problem, StreamRift. And by problem, I'm going to kick you. Okay?
Oh.
$5 from Jay Shellman. Timo Andrew Wilson need more practice. Okay. $20 from C. Goach to say, Wick, dude just said the slur multiple times. What the fuck kind of panel is this? So first of all, I don't think he said it multiple times. I didn't hear it when it happened, but people were saying it did. And enough people were saying it that it probably did. So do not do it again. Okay. $10 from Natural Phenomenon. If importing immigrants into a state is corrupt, does that mean Greg Abbott was corrupt when he bused immigrants to blue states? If that helped Dems, why did he do that?
No, I do just have to interrupt slightly because we are over on time. I said, I think 20 minutes ago I'd leave 15. This is shame on me. However, I wish to remain married, so I will go to dinner. But been a delight, everyone. Even you, Pisco. It's been nice. Thanks so much. Catch you in
Thank you for being here. Bye-bye. Okay. $5 from Delay My Baby. Do you have any number you can tie to the DNC corruption to contrast against Trump? Also, are you comparing to all time versus a 2-term president? Steve?
Yeah, they didn't raise any allegations against the DNC. They literally had no allegations against the DNC. None of this. The SPLC isn't DNC. Individual politicians aren't DNC. They don't know what the DNC is, and so they just said DNC.
They're estimating right now. The estimates I've seen that we're ranging in fraud estimates of 250 to 500 billion a year. Some of the estimates I've seen, and so if we're just going to credit that to the DNC, we just go back. I don't know. Since
what are you saying the DNC did? You can't even say it in a complete sentence. The DNC did this. And now you can't even complete that sentence.
The reason I can't complete that sentence is because you've interrupted me every time I try to lay out one more step in like 10 seconds, even though you go out here and spur for like 20 minutes each time you talk. But sure, I can lay it out. Once again, they have encouraged illegal immigrants to come here. Then they've turned around and supplemented them with ID and given them a substandard status where they have a gray status individuals in certain places. Some places give them legal places to vote. That's corruption. Other places they have healthcare going to these people. That is corruption. We also have examples where they have this healthcare fraud going into these NGOs, and then they're funded back and paid towards Democratic candidates. That's basically
giving healthcare to illegal immigrants is corruption. Wait.
Yeah, that's money laundering.
Wait. Why?
Interrupted. You asked me to lay out a case, and now I'm interrupted.
No. But wait. We can't itemize your list. We can't itemize your list.
Did I interrupt you when you gave 200 lists?
Yes. Hold on. No, all of you have been interrupting each other. So the answer is, did you interrupt? Yes, you did.
Except me, by the way.
Dev, you've been a good boy. Good job. You get a cookie. Okay.
Every time I give more than one thing, I've gotten interrupted.
You don't want to. This is what's going on, right? Yes, I have a big list. I have a big list. I have a big list, and I have a big list. I have a big list. I have a big list. Gibbs. I had a big list for sure. I started in the opening. So in the opening, I made it clear that I'm okay with us not doing everything on the list. And I'm happy to take one at a time and focus on it. But when you say, for example, when you go through your list, when you go through your list and say illegal immigrants getting health care benefits from the government is corruption, I want to stop and interrogate that. And you don't want to happen.
Sure. Well, okay. Well, that's really convenient that you want to do that now. After you gish gallop the whole time, and every time I try.
No, hold on. No, stop. Gibbs. No, stop. All of you. Stop.
You're saving them again, Wick.
No, I'm saving the content. Because we cannot address the claims if we keep making 20 claims, and every time we try to drill down on one, you say, well, what about this other claim that I made? Like, hold on, we got to get to one first. Now, Pisco can be a little hyper-autistic, or hyper-focused, I should say, and that's... Again, we should probably move on after a certain point.
The interruptions are to stop rambles. That's what they're.
But you ramble the whole time. Like, what are you talking about?
Okay, but regardless, Gibbs, you still haven't answered the question that they paid me $10 to ask you. Does that mean if importing immigrants into states is corrupt, does that mean Greg Abbott was corrupt when he busted immigrants?
Oh, that's a different question than what I was just asked. But sure, no, because guess who brought them here originally? Bro, you just asked a separate question about the how much billions overall was it, how far we go back. Now you're asking me about a different super.
Wait. No,
hold on. I'm the drunk one. You're not talking. You don't even know what question we're asking.
You just added something. No. You just added something else. You said, well, because they
that was on you. You asked me at the last question.
You just added.
We're gonna be here all night.
I'll ask you
You said Abbott doesn't bear any responsibility for that because there was an initial harm done by the Democrats, right? That he is allowed to sort of ship off those illegal immigrants someplace else because some initiating event, correct? That's what you just said?
Sure.
Why is it pulling teeth to get you to fucking answer a question? You guys are so scared that I have these prepared. Okay. So, but you delay so long. Why isn't that just obvious what your fucking opinion is? Okay. So the initial event.
I'm just making sure you were done, so I didn't interrupt.
The initial event is them crossing over the border, right?
I mean, that could be one of the initial events.
What is the thing that breaks the line of causality such that you attribute blame to Biden but not to Abbott? That's what the question is trying to inquire. And you don't want to answer. You're not going to engage. Okay, forget it then.
Okay, $5 for delay my baby.
It's crazy.
Do you have a number?
It's crazy that I can dictate. I can't answer.
We already asked this, but I'll ask this again. Lunatic Thinker, why are we wasting time listening to PDF file worshippers miserably failing at trying to convince anyone that the Trump crypto is not corruption? Well, $5. That's a question you will have to answer for yourself. I don't know. But thank you for the $5. $5 from Firearms and Fitness. The amount of blind faith and cope on the side of Trump needs to be studied for future generations. Okay. $2 from Greg Gill. Petition to change the term to Gibbs Gallop. Okay. Nice. $5 from Alishness. Do Gibbs and Streamrift realize that they're on a debate panel? It seems like they prepared for an episode of Alex Jones with all of these conspiracies. $5 from the Skeletal Big. If we go by dollar amount, Trump is more corrupt than every other politician in the history of the USA combined. $10 from Admiral Love. What is the point of this when the Republican side is literally incapable of tracking the arguments of the Democrat side on a basic intellectual level? $5
on
from
their own arguments, too.
Yeah. $5 from Greg Yale. Bottom left is so smug, but all he's done is conspiracy post and refused to provide any evidence.
That's Stream Refs. That's not me.
Yeah,
That's
the different bottom left.
Stream Ref.
That's Stream Refs. Don't you try it, you fucking Gibbs.
$5 from Vishy. Ask the conservative idiots their thoughts on Trump firing the inspector generals, I should say. Okay, Trump, what is your thought on Trump's firing of the inspector generals?
I am Trump. We are all Trump. No, I mean, I think that every administration should be able to enact the spoil system as they see fit. The Dems should be able to fire whoever they want to fire. The Republicans should be able to fire when they come into office. I don't think that's
so.
Really
just a follow-up question from me on that. So you would be okay. So you would be okay if there was a bunch of.
What do you think it's a reference to?
That is a reference to I believe Andrew Jackson's practice of giving out positions to like members of his family and political
and how long is that?
As opposed to people who are competent, right? And that is exactly what is like this kind of nepotism. This is a thing that we like don't want, and that's why we want like bureaucrats who know what they're doing.
That's an argument.
When you reference the spoil system, that's what you're invoking is something that most people would think is like wrong.
Well, here's the thing: is it not just Andrew Jackson? It lasted for about about 100 years, and then even then, after it was gone per se, it's still basically what we do. We have people come in, you appoint people that you want in there, you fire people that aren't. This is something that's common in the practice. Now, the difference is our administrations have gotten so large that it's not the smaller organizations that were under Andrew Jackson. There's other people that can just fire half the administration and put in 1 million people. We have massive bureaucracies now, and it's not feasible to go in there, and we have lifelong employees. However, I think the spoil system is still relevant.
Yeah, but
idea that we put people in there, and I'm okay with that.
Like what you're trying to do.
Level.
It seems like what you're trying to do is like it basically also what you started your intro with to go back to like Tammany Hall, but like Tammany Hall is corrupt as fuck. And if you want to talk about if you no, but you okay? So you don't.
I didn't say you were
confused
about that.
You have a no.
I said the Dems are Tammany Hall. So we don't have to. I'd be funny to get that wrong too.
Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Check the tape on that. But so to be clear,
maybe you
think that Tammany Hall is bad, right? Tammany Hall's bad.
Yeah. Tammany Hall's bad.
Okay.
It's institutionalized corruption, just like the Democratic Party.
Okay,
just like the Republican Party, right?
No, just like the National.
Has Trump done anything corrupt that you can identify? One thing.
Trump is a populist. He's not the National Republican Party, so he's not.
No, can you name one thing? Is there one thing that you would say Trump is corrupt? I can tell you things that Joe Biden did that I thought were corrupt.
Let's go with the slush fund. I don't like the slush fund. It's not my favorite thing. Let's say that's corrupt.
Okay. $5 from Dilapidated Chad.
Downhill.
Was the Civil War corrupt based on the Gremlin's logic?
Well, I'm assuming you're talking to me because I'm the only Republican, and it seems like, I would argue that once again, no, it wasn't. And it established federalism. It's a concept that Pisco doesn't seem to like, and he likes the local states to like be able to do things over the federal government. He's not. He's okay.
You realize that you made the point. So you made the point that federal law is supreme, which is a true point.
Yeah. So sanctuary cities is not a federal immigration law.
No. But the whole point of the sanctuary cities policy is premised on this notion of federalism and anti-commandeering, and you're going against that when you say they don't have the right to.
So if I was sanctuary city for I don't know, machine guns, would that be allowable?
Yeah, kind of. There are
different gun policies. Yes. Now, machine guns are banned across the nation because there is a federal hook there.
So is being here illegal.
There is a federal hook there. But here's what you can't do. Here's what you can't do. Right? You cannot commandeer state police officers to enforce federal law against their desires. Right? You can't commandeer them to enforce your executive policies.
The executive could not step in and force the local PD or the local officials to cooperate if they went to go in to find banned guns or something. They can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty crazy because that sounds similar to like, oh, we can't make this mob guy rat on his homies. That's called corruption as well.
I don't. Hold on. They have a Fifth Amendment. Of course you can. That's built into the Constitution that you can plead the Fifth. Okay, but anyway,
I'm going crazy.
Okay. Anyway, let's keep going because we got a lot of these. Thank you for the money, gang. But god damn. Okay. $2 from Chem. Pisco, is it Chilean or Peruvian?
Peruvian.
Okay, cool. Cruiser
I'm American,
25.
but,
This is to Dev.
That explains a lot. The difference between Peruvian cocaine and Colombian cocaine is very key.
Okay.
I'm not a cocaine user, but you would know.
$5 from Cruiser
based on how you
25.
talk, I doubt that.
Dev, what is your key point of corruption Trump or his administration has committed, i.e. the biggest flaw?
I mean, for me, it has to be the crypto stuff, just because there's so much money that the number is astronomically huge.
Can I ask you about that? So, like, so you agree that that's like a outside the government. The government itself didn't do the crypto scheme.
No, you're wrong. So here's how they're involved intimately, right? So here's the yes, you're correct that the World Liberty Financial and the Trump meme coin, those are private enterprises. So you're correct on that. But the money that they're getting, both in both schemes, is government money, and what they're getting in response, in return for the United Arab Emirates, are like transactional deals on technology, access to American technology and deals they didn't have before. For Qatar specifically, they're now like this executive memo that treats them like NATO, that an attack on Qatar is an attack on America. So they're getting benefits from the government. No, they're getting benefits from this administration that is newfoundly
yes, it's using
crazy support for all these Arabs in Gulf states.
The reason why, even though it is private the reason why it's private organizations, right, that might be collecting this money, but it's still involving the government, is because Trump is the head of the government, and he is using that as leverage to bring in money for his personal corruption. It absolutely involves the government.
That's why he's getting billions. Why else would he be getting those billions? Why else would he get that money?
There's more to this as well, because Trump has directed his DOJ to stop investigating crypto frauds.
So wait, hold on.
He disbanded that agency.
Two questions, real quick. So y'all basically laid out that he might be enriching himself, right? Let's just say he is, right?
No, however, not might. He is. We know that.
Enriching himself. The report was $2 billion.
Okay, hold on. Once again, now is he in direct control of his finances?
What do you mean by that? In some respects, yes.
It's usually like when you're president, you give up your stuff, so no conflict of interest.
He has underlings, but no. I'm sorry. He ultimately he signs off.
Hold on, I'm just making sure that he doesn't directly
overall he's in control. He has control. He could change this as much as he wants, and so that's why, for example, he's directing. The White House is directing certain deals, right? So one of the deals on the one that I brought up, Vulcan Technologies, on this like mineral organization that Donald Trump Jr. was involved in. He directed the Defense Department to get involved there, so he is controlling his assets. Now, he might not oversee everything down to the minute detail. He delegates for sure, but overall, the schemes are his, and he's right in on them.
Hold on. So you're basically, what it sounds like to me, because this is the way I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it as he's running the successful, what they call a pork barrel project. And if you study political science, you know what a pork barrel project is. And so what we're seeing here is what he's done is he's pushed a crypto legislation agenda, which is something that I think is a good thing. Many do think is. And then they have supplementary.
He's deregulating. He's deregulating.
Yeah, right, because that's a good thing. If you're, if you're in that economic
to not enforce securities laws, to not enforce fraud laws.
Yeah, we have too many regulations in this industry.
What Dev just said was true.
I agree, but I'm saying he's pushing an agenda that wants crypto to like splurge. It wants to go boom to the moon.
How's Bitcoin done under?
How is rug pulling? How is rug pulling with the meme coin helping crypto?
Today, by the way, because of what Trump
today.
How is rug pulling his? How is doing this rug pull? This massive rug pull. You have to acknowledge it was a rug pull. You don't think it was a rug pull?
I don't think it was a rug pull.
This is what I mean about like you guys get stuck on $5 super chats. That was a $5 super.
Well, just real quick, Gibbs, you've seen this, right?
I got 10 minutes. Then I got
here. The Binance founder, who was pardoned by Trump, holds 87% of Trump's stablecoin. How is this not some kind of quid pro quo?
Sure. Let me ask you this: how many? Like, if you this would be surprising, but I am somewhat familiar with the crypto. This seems to be like about crypto in general. Is crypto like seems to have most of these coins are held by like a exclusive large group, and they'll release it in like amounts over time. Now,
that's not what Dev is telling you right now. Right, so Dev, that's not the point that Dev is pointing to. Dev is pointing to Dev is pointing to the fact. No, you're not addressing what Dev is saying. It's a filibuster.
Because I haven't finished.
No, because I can hear what you're saying.
I will read the top line.
You're a mind reader. We have Professor Xavier over here, boys. He can read minds.
I will read the top line for you, okay? Binance holds about 87% of USD1, the stablecoin issued by a Trump family crypto venture, a greater concentration than any other major stablecoin has at a single exchange, underscoring the depth of the financial relationship between Binance, whose founder Trump pardoned in October, and World Liberty Financial, which already has a So listen, Trump pardons this guy.
UAE,
this guy's making tons of money off of Trump crypto. Is there not some corruption happening here?
Oh, and pause. One additional factor: the UAE specifically lobbied for his pardoning as well because they want to bring a Binance to the UAE. It's all there.
Pardoning is supposed to be a tool that helps heal America, and in this sense, gives us an advantage in crypto. How is this any different than Operation Paperclip? Now, this guy might be a piece of shit fraudster.
Okay, I'm gonna keep going. $2 from Greg Yo.
That's crazy what you said.
$2 from Greg Yo.
Does rocketry help us get to the moon?
Okay, this is just okay. Greg Yo.
Are these coins going to the moon, or are they getting dumped?
Hey, I don't know. We'll see.
$2 from Greg Yo. Dev, you're allowed to talk sometimes. $5 from the pleb. Gibbs and Rift clearly went to school at the Quality Learning Center due to the sheer stupidity of their arguments. Pisco, let your partners talk.
They need some more leering.
Okay. $10 from B. Trump never stops being a Democrat and is setting the justification and precedent for 100 years the USA as a Nordic model government. Not the hero Gotham wanted, but the hero it needed.
That's an interesting argument. You could say, well, no, the Democrats have been more corrupt because Trump is a Democrat. But obviously, he's a registered Republican. He ran on the Republican ticket. So.
Odd Maidon Productions. The sharpest arrow in a conservative's quiver is, I actually don't know what that word means, so I assume it means bad for $5. Okay. Oda Shara for $5. Why don't we know who attended Trump's crypto dinner? $5 from Natural Phenomenon.
So some people who go to the dinners, we do know. It just depends which one. There've been so many, and there's so much Mar-a-Lago related corruption too. It's not just the crypto stuff either.
Pondering Politics says, what happened to the last stream? Is it not? I'll look at that. It should still be up. Should still be live. There was a internet interruption that had to. Yeah. Anyway, it was text chat. Okay. $5 from Natural Phenomenon. There is no evidence of undocumented immigrants being sworn into office. They got citizenship before they ran. Trump cultists will lie like crazy. $5 from
when they lie too, it doesn't even further their point because the examples they brought up weren't sanctuary city regimes or were like not what they claimed that it was.
We're so close to the end here. Okay. $5 from Alishness. The Iowa school board was not election fraud. You don't elect a superintendent. They are hired administratively. They need to lie to get to a point. Some school boards operate differently than others. I don't know.
Maybe this is the Des Moines superintendent thing.
Yeah, this is the Des Moines superintendent thing. We didn't get into it. I did find the information on it though, and the TLDR of it is that like this guy ended up having an extensive criminal record. He lied about having a master's degree in education. He was rejected for a green card multiple times. He basically spent like 20 or 25 years lying, and he was eventually caught. I don't think this is evidence of democratic corruption here.
$5 for Macchia.
Hold on. There were several prominent Democrats in local and the state level that came out and supported him before all the facts came out. So,
that was before the facts came out.
Did you just say they would be victims?
Hold on, Gibbs. You said it was before the facts came out, so they didn't know.
Yeah, before the facts became public. We should make it a better way to say it.
They didn't know.
However, based off the pattern, because pattern recognition thing, this seems like someone they would have pushed forward. Oh, come on, bro. Like, did we
look at the standard applied? Look at the standard applied to the superintendent race.
Are you kidding me? What do you mean?
So look at the standard. Look at the standard applied by Gibbs.
Yeah, I had a standard where I have evidence, and you have only allegations.
So the standard that you applied in the superintendent case, in assuming bad faith, but with Binance, it's like, oh, well, he just really wants to have good crypto. That's why he had to make $1 billion off this scheme, World Liberty Financial. That's what think about what we could do with our science if he didn't do this.
Yeah, hold on, just real quick. We do have more super chats, but I know that Gibbs needs to go soon to another show. Storm Wolf, Twink here.
Hey, what's up?
Did pay me.
Twink.
Yeah, Twink. Did pay me to come and ask you some questions. So go ahead, ask your question.
First of all, fuck you, and streamer Gibbs. Second of all, Gibbs, are you aware of the recent trades that we found out happened? So you remember Liberation Day, we had those tariffs, right? And then on April 9th, the tariffs were relieved. A day before all of Trump's accounts, there were 327 new investments. Some of them were in stuff like steel, which were directly going into like the things that were going to be relieved by the tariffs. Do we think that was corruption? He artificially brings down stock prices, invests, and then you see a massive boom because he reopens these tariffs. Do we think that's corruption?
I would say I need to see more evidence. If that's corruption, then all the insider trading in Congress is also corruption. And there's a real easy solution for this, brother. It's
wait, stop. It's called is that corruption? It's a simple question. Stop. It's a simple question. It is corruption. Thank you. It is corruption.
It is corruption. But just so you know, Gibbs. Just so you know, in 1 year, Trump has made more money on the stock market than Pelosi has in 25.
Exactly. This is another thing. When we talk about like corruption, and Rick kept talking about how the DNC had so much corruption, you were comparing an organization of so many people over so long time, and it still doesn't reach the scale of what Trump has done in like a year and a half. Number two, the Qatar jet you lied about earlier. You said it's going to his presidential library, and then you said it's saving him money. Oh, well, it's going to his presidential library. You know that, right? It's going to his presidential library.
One of those would become Air Force One now. It's one of the Air Force One.
No, it goes into his presidential library at the end of this term, and then we have to refurbish Air Force One again. So we're not able to use it. So we're not saving money, and they got NATO-level protection for it. Wait, Gibbs, they got NATO-level protection right after that, right?
Yeah, why not? She's been assassinated, attempted like
Qatar, who funds Hamas, Qatar, who funds terror cells across the Middle East. You think they deserve NATO protection?
You support Israel?
Hold on.
You're like an Israel guy, right?
I'm really more of the whoever makes me the most money guy, and if we could sell weapons to Hamas,
yeah, you're corrupt just like your daddy.
Wait, Pisco. Can I just grill him on this? First of all, Qatar funds Hamas. Second of all, why are we giving them NATO protection?
Qatar, by the way. Qatar. Have you ever been to Qatar? I've been to Qatar.
I don't give two shits. Answer the fucking question.
Well, I will say this, because if you look at our relationship with Qatar, all the way back to Bush Senior, right? Bush Senior was a former CIA head director, and then there's Texas A&M. Texas A&M has a school there, and that would say where he also has a presidential library in College Station. Why do you think that is? Do you think the former? No, hold on. What does Qatar do for America? Qatar is basically the guy that we go in there and have them talk to all these countries that hate us, right? They talk to all like Iran.
They also fund terror cells. Why would we give them? Why would we give them NATO protection when they're just going to use that to fund further terror cells?
Number two, soft power.
Cool. I don't want to give soft power to people who are actively funding hard power against us. Number one, but number two, you acknowledge that they're not getting any. Wait, stop. You acknowledge. Wait, so one, you acknowledge you were wrong by the Air Force One claim. This won't be Air Force One because it goes into his presidential library, which would be.
I'm okay with that too. I think it's
cool. But then you fucking lied. Number one. Number two, there is no benefit to the United States. There's only benefit to Trump because he can still use that when it's in his presidential library. The United States government cannot.
Wait, hold on. So they're already in talks to replace Air Force One. They were already in the process of doing it.
It will end because it's going to his presidential library at the end of his term.
Hold on. Is that true or not?
This motherfucker off. Just leave.
Is that true or not?
Wait, no, Pisco, I want to talk to him. You understand that once it goes into his presidential library, it can no longer be used as Air Force One, correct?
Well, hold on.
You know that, right?
I'm going to need to see evidence of that. But two, that may be true. I'm not going to dispute that. However,
is it being used? That's their plan.
Is it being used as Air Force One now?
It doesn't matter because you said it would save us money. It doesn't save us money because it doesn't matter because it's a matter of protection.
Okay.
Trump's person.
Okay.
Just leave, dude.
Okay.
If it's Trump's personal, sorry, I'm just gonna finish.
Listen,
Trump. Wait, stop.
I do want you to address Gibbs.
You're retarded. You stop. If this is going to be used by Trump under this term, which you said would save us money, but then it's going to his presidential library, it doesn't save us money. It is a personal gift to Trump that is then being used in exchange for NATO-level protection. How is that not corruption at an unprecedented level, unprecedented event?
We protect former presidents all the time with using your service. I don't see this.
That's not what you're being. That's not what you're being asked about. Protection. That's not what you're being asked about. What you're asked about is the fucking
thing.
plane.
I already used the Cutter thing. I think it's a soft power where you go moving to transactional.
So we got. Wait, do you acknowledge that the corruption? Do you all acknowledge that the protection came after he got the plane that is going to be for his personal use and then retired after this term? If that is true, is that not corruption?
As well as the base.
If this is true, wait, how about this? If everything I said is true, is it corruption? If everything I said is true, is it corruption?
No.
Okay,
whatever. Let's keep. Okay.
Wait, fine. One last thing. The Eric Adams incident. Eric Adams had federal prosecution coming up. Trump said, if you help us with immigration, we'll remove these charges. Is that not corruption? Is that not a dereliction of duty to not actually engage in a federal prosecution of one of the most openly corrupt mayors in American
Democratic
history?
mayors. Yeah.
He's a Democratic mayor, huh?
Okay, but Trump does a quid pro quo to dismiss those charges, which Biden's admin was prosecuting.
Yes, with a corrupt Democratic mayor, they do a quid pro quo. Tom Homan is on TV on Fox News. You can see it all there, black and white. You have Scalia clerks who are working for the Department of Justice, just like lifelong appointees, saying this is corrupt. You have all manner of evidence that this is corruption. You have the judge coming out and saying, unfortunately, my hands are tied. I have to dismiss it with prejudice because what they were planning on doing was holding this over Mayor Adams' head to make sure that he was compliant. And you say it's not corruption?
Well, hold on. Let's look at this real quick. I'm not super familiar with the case, but let's just say they go all the way through and he's convicted. All right, and then Trump goes, or before we're convicted, Trump goes, you know what? I'm going to give you a pardon for this date to this date. Would you say that's corruption? So if I gave you a pardon for all the time you were here,
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why, because my notion of corruption, you haven't explained what you so I'll tell you why. So if the pardon is done for an improper purpose, that is to say for personal or political gain, or to get compliance with a different sovereign using the criminal justice system as opposed to convincing people, as opposed to other legitimate means available to him, if he's using his awesome might as head of the Department of Justice, really on his own view of unitary executive, if he's doing that to extract those purposes, of course it's corruption. On your view, I guess no party can ever be corrupt.
No,
yes, I do. Yes, I agree.
Cool.
So to be honest, yes, I agree that the Biden party.
I agree.
No, you agree with that, but you won't grant.
I don't agree. I don't agree that it was corrupt.
Hold on. Gibbs, hold on, please, all of you.
And I said it was not corrupt for him to pardon his son.
Yeah, but you can hold on, Gibbs. You understand? You understand that when you say
hold on. Here, I got something real quick. So Gibbs,
let me get this out. Let me get this out.
Trust me, okay? I'm just going to show it to you, okay? Here, look at read this, Gibbs, okay? The Justice Department has moved to dismiss corruption charges against New York Mayor Eric Adams, a Democrat, 1 day after Adams agreed to provide ICE access to Rikers Island jail. How is this not corruption?
Well, first of all, they should have been providing the access to the jail.
That's not the question.
That's not how that works out.
How is it corruption, though?
But two, once again, I want to come back to the pardon thing. I said the Biden thing was not corruption then. And Wick, you can vouch for that. I was here.
Yes, but can you answer his question now?
Is this corruption?
Yes.
I mean, why is this corruption exactly? If you
Dev, explain why it's corruption. Go through
a legitimate charge for the sake
let Dev do it. Let Dev do it. Dev,
explain. Twink here is doing a good job.
Sure. Okay. So have you ever offered? Is a plea deal corruption?
No, not necessarily.
A plea deal is a part of our legal system. This is saying I'm going to dismiss charges that are being brought because you committed a crime, not because of a valid legal reason, but because I want a political win. That is corruption.
Can you tell me the fundamental?
Wait. To be clear, if you thought the illegal immigration thing was because it was padding the votes is corruption, how is this not corruption? It's for a political benefit that you think is an improper action. The difference is this is.
Here's the difference, though. I don't see a fundamental difference between a plea deal and a dismissing charges.
Wait, what do you
hold on, Gibbs.
Stop. I need to answer this question. What would Trump get if he told his DOJ to offer a plea deal? What is the response you get? A plea deal is just saying, "Hey, you do this, you get a minimal sentence." You're not exactly one, so you still get the guilty charge, which is important. But two. Wait, first of all, you still get the guilty charge. Secondly, you don't get a benefit. You don't get some reward as the DOJ or the government. And the government is getting a reward from this.
Here's the point. Wait. And here's you ask what makes this different than a plea bargain where you're giving some testimony to some other people, right? Or you're giving some other benefit and you're solving another crime. This is the difference, right? Eric Adams' authority as mayor is. Wait, let me answer you asked the question, how is this any different? I'm telling you, right? Eric Adams' official authority as mayor is not his to bargain for his personal freedom and safety. He holds that position in trust, and anyone in the federal government, including and especially members of the DOJ, would know that. You can't trade away something that's not yours in exchange for benefits to yourself. That is the quintessential aspect of corruption that you seem to be missing.
Hold on. Here's the difference, though. Trump's job, here's the guy with the DOJ, and especially Tom Homan. I don't agree with this. I think that this is not something nice. I think it's kind of gross. However, I don't think it rises to corruption because, one, Trump's duty to the American people that voted him in is to prosecute immigration. And if this gets him more of that prosecution, then that's going to be him following through. Even if it entails, that is the Americans' will.
So let's start with Eric Adams. You agree that Eric Adams is corrupt in leveraging his authorities as mayor? So no. Is that action corrupt? Yes or no?
Yeah, that would be corrupt in Eric Adams' part.
Okay. So that action, so we're building a tower. You just granted that action by Eric Adams. Eric Adams is leveraging his authority in exchange for a personal benefit. Is Trump doing something that necessarily corrupts a city under the jurisdiction of the United States? Is that corrupt as well?
He's not doing that.
I think the best thing.
Let me finish it. Asking a mayor to do something that you know to be corrupt is not corrupt. Why?
Yeah, because it's a similar precedent to like having the IRS collect taxes from drug dealers. Yeah, because you undeclare a thing, you know it's from criminal activity.
I think the best thing to do is just go through corruption examples and to show how insane their standard is. I mean, like, this is the most obvious level of corruption in any admin. Shut the fuck up.
If that's not corrupt, nothing's corrupt.
This is the most
like, if that's not corrupt, nothing is corrupt.
From any admin. James, you don't give two shits about corruption. You don't care about DNC corruption. You bitch about policy. By the way, you bitch about policy failures as an example of corruption. And then when someone's doing a quid pro quo deal, when someone's doing like literally insider trading, you brag about his son doing insider trading, right? You probably don't know shit about that.
First of all, they did indicate they were going to change the policy. But second of all, you just said that the president asking for corruption isn't itself corrupt. How can that possibly be? How can it be that the president asking for it, he knows?
But the U.S. government works with corrupt people all the time to accomplish political goals. Like we do it foreign. Do
they tell them they can go scot-free? Do people usually go scot-free?
All the time they do this. All the time they do this.
But if they do it for personal gain, is that bad?
Listen,
let's say the DOJ. Wait. Let's say a district attorney says, "I'm going to offer you a plea deal." Let's say a district attorney says, "I'm going to offer you a plea deal so you campaign for me." Let's say a district attorney says, "I'm going to offer you a plea deal so you campaign for me." Would that be corrupt? Wait, answer that question. Would that be corrupt? Would that be corrupt? Hey, Gibbs. Would that be corrupt?
Would that be corrupt? That's my question.
Let's say a district attorney offers a plea deal and in return says, "You plead guilty and you better go campaign for me." Would that be corrupt?
That's corrupt.
Okay. At least you have some standard. Do you think offering a plea deal to get unauthorized access to Rikers Island would be corrupt?
No, because once again, this is not for the y'all keep putting this
so retarded.
Because no, there's a difference. There's a difference. Hold on. This is your standard. You just put forward personal gain. Okay. The argument
Trump got personal gain from it. He got to enforce his immigration policy. He would not have been able to do otherwise.
Hold on. Actually, thank you for proving my point. That is not personal gain.
Yes, it is. It is a political personal gain. He did not have the authority to get Rikers Island absent. So he said, "I'm going to leverage a charge against you and say you better do this, or I'm going to these charges going to continue. But if you don't do it, I'm going to do it." That is a definition of a quid pro quo deal that are often
Okay.
Improperly carrying out justice. He's saying, "I'm not going to bring legitimate charges against you in order so I can get some benefit."
Here's the thing, and this is where I think we're having the big issue. You're saying him enacting his policy is personal gain, although
the methodology. You guys always do this hard thing where you only look at the action itself without looking at the methodology. You could maybe get access to ICE detention centers legitimately using charges against someone, a mayor, to try and get access to like facilities is almost certainly improper and dereliction of duty.
I agree. It is
dereliction of duty.
It is by the mayor, and so we incentivize them to do it to enforce national policy that the American people voted in. That is different than a personal gain.
You're defining your way against the policy. So you're
$20.
Well, because of course anything that Trump does is he believes in
I'm gonna read the ones directed to Gibbs. The super chats directed to Gibbs right before you leave. $20 from Eddie Bombay. Trump deregulated vaccines with Operation Warp Speed. High five me through the screen, Gibbs. Okay. $10 from Eddie Bombay. Trump deregulated use of glyphosate on crops. Gibbs, high five again, buddy.
Yeah, there you go. Isn't that a high five? Actually, that's a good thing. But
and let me see. Are there any more?
I feel like that's something I'm uniquely qualified for.
I'm looking. I hope I don't miss any.
Gibbs, did you just argue for Qatari soft power when you spent last week's debate with me arguing against USA soft power?
That was the joke.
It was crazy.
That was a joke? Okay.
So this has been a joke?
So when America plays both sides of the war on terror, you think that's a joke? And that's just like, whatever.
Like, no, it's funny to be like, I think we should have I think we should give NATO protection to a country that's funding terror attacks against us and our allies. It's a wild statement.
Well, hold on. The problem is, I think what Trump has done is move towards more of a Don Rowe style.
We got one more.
He wants to do
this is a made up term that means
we got one more for you, Gibbs. One more for you, Gibbs. One more. They paid me money, and I don't want to be corrupt. I don't want to be corrupt. I don't want to defraud my super chatters, okay? They paid me money to ask you this question. Would the pro-Trump side of this panel admit that Trump is the most corrupt individual in all USA political history in terms of financial gain, if not the entire DNC, or no?
Yeah, I wouldn't admit that. Let's go with Ulysses S. Grant, most corrupt, but that's okay. Yeah.
Gibbs, I know you have to go.
Yeah. I do. Also, and if you want to hear more about the Don Rowe Doctrine, I just did a video. It's very interesting. We have a PowerPoint and everything explaining Fortress America, the Don Rowe Doctrine. Check it out. It's on Admiral Gibbs on YouTube. All right. Thanks for having me, guys. It was very fun. I'm going to go do a watch party for the social.
Bye-bye.
So.
Okay, I'm going to read the rest of these super chats.
Can I make one quick ask of you? One quick ask of you.
Dude, that guy has to drop like a mumble rap album or something.
One quick ask of you, Wick. For these panels in the future, you need to define terms like corruption ahead of time.
They'll just change it. Like, I've tried to do that. People ignore the definition.
Okay.
They don't. It doesn't
matter.
No,
that's fair. You have more experience. I thought I at least
it doesn't matter. Like, you'll get them to agree to a definition, and then they'll bring up another one when you get into the actual thing.
Or they'll just refuse to engage.
Yeah.
If you try to clarify your semantics. So like, I try to do that with Ryan on clarifying semantics, and he's just like, whatever you think it means. It's like, okay, it's pointless.
It's just it's insane to have like policy like failure. And I know him because I hang out on the server. I knew he was gonna do like immigration is corruption.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's all I have. No, you're not wrong about that. They just like they're not honest, and so they don't give a fuck.
It is what it is, gang. But I do think that these are useful, and I'll say this as kind of the ending before I read the rest of the super chats. You guys can leave if you need. I think that these things are useful to see the non-answers, right? To see them obfuscate, to see them dodge, to see them not actually address what is being brought up. I think people who are honest in looking at this can see that kind of behavior, and it does sway them against that. I think when people see someone who is dishonest, unless they're already on the team, it tends to turn them off. And so that's why I think that these are useful, even if you think that, oh, these people just dodged the whole time. I still think it's worth having these kinds of shows.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah.
So I don't know. I know it's frustrating though. I get it.
I also wasn't saying don't host these panels. I just wanted to have more. I was just trying to make a suggestion. For
I know.
clarity,
I get it. And we try different things. And like tomorrow we're gonna have Soy Pill versus Deej, and I think that both of those people will have. I think that Deej will engage differently than Gibbs.
I think it'll be fun.
So, should be interesting. Tune in for that. What else does everyone else get? Well, Pisco, what do you got coming up? Are you going to LibCon, Pisco? I'm just real curious.
LibCon?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't invited. I have a big trip coming up in a few weeks, but no, I was never invited to LibCon, bro.
You gotta like, yeah, you can just go. Like, you don't have to be invited.
Oh, you can just go. Where is it?
It's in DC.
When is it?
16th and the 17th. It's a bunch of people
really
coming, and like you can just go.
I'll see about it.
It's
I know
up to
people.
you. I mean, like, it'd be nice to say hi and
I know it would be nice to connect with people. I appreciate everybody. And listen, I get angry and animated with this because fuck, I love my country. I love, I was really gutted when America lost yesterday against Belgium, and because I just want to see this place succeed. I want to see America be the best, and I get very passionate about it. And so when I see, whether it's in soccer, Trump corruption edging its way in, or when I see our country being like dragged down by these degenerates, it makes me mad. Like the fact that people can come up here and just bald face just say random shit that they either haven't looked into or just like spitball. And at one point it's like, wait, you said something about Oakland, right? And they're just like, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, or they're just lying. It just makes me mad, and it just like brings out my passion. And maybe I yell too much or whatever, or interrupt, but I'm just trying to keep them on track. Because if you just let them go, they'll just start talking about every policy and trans stuff. They try to do it. And so there has to be a way to finagle the conversation in a way. And I appreciate, though, Wick, that you're still doing these panels. For me, it's hard to get MAGA people and Trump people to actually engage and to come into debate. I don't know where they are. I'm trying to find them.
Well, one of the problems is that when you do try to force them to answer questions and actually like guide the discussion, they'll claim, "Oh, you're just helping the other side."
Yeah.
And it makes it impossible. Like, they will only go to places where they are able to bully the moderators to doing what they want. And when you don't allow that to happen, you're seen as a biased moderator. And that's a frustrating event. So,
and I appreciate also Dev. Dev, thank you so much for like doing the fact checks in real time. I like those fact checks should have been devastating. They should have detonated in their mind. Devastating.
They did devastate them. Get it?
Yeah, but they just move on like nothing happened. Like we just didn't see them implode, and that Dev didn't just like absolutely annihilate them. And then at some point, the streamer guy goes and is like, "I feel like I could have a reasonable conversation with you, Dev. I feel like you've been," and like Dev has just repeated the same question he just asked about evidence for like the 10th time, as though like he hasn't just been crushed.
I was
Well,
crazy.
their definition of a reasonable conversation
actually...
is like one, a polite conversation, and then two, a conversation where you guys are like, it's like agreeing to disagree the entire time, never actually having like a moving and like ideas like, hey, we're wrong.
I'm actually very surprised that Stream Rift even did this, because for a while he had blacklisted me over my political violence take. So I'm surprised he showed up at all. You know?
He blacklisted
you? You should rethink that, by the way.
Nah.
Interesting. Well, to be clear, I invited him like, so I guess a little behind the scenes things. Pondering Politics asked me to set up a debate on this topic, right? And he wanted to see Pisco or Dev and Pisco, or Dev and I forget the other one he suggested. But he wanted to see those people. Oh, Dev and Destiny, one of those two, right? And he wanted to see them versus MAGA's strongest soldiers. So I tried to get Rob. I tried to get what's his face, Ryan. I tried to get a few others, but yeah, they just, again, there's no interest in this topic from that side. So.
I tried to get Ryan. He wouldn't do it again.
Well, you say again, but like officially, the topic in your guys' conversation was not corruption. It was like,
no, I understand. Bro,
court packing, and he wouldn't want to do that.
No, he didn't want to talk to me again in general, basically.
Oh, because you want him dead or something?
I don't want him dead, but
allegedly.
Yeah,
I thought he did it because his claim, as I understand it, is that you were drama frogging because he retweeted something that you think he shouldn't have.
No. His claim was that.
Okay, maybe.
I have to retract my claim that he's a liar before he will talk to me again. But I do think he's a liar.
And lying.
And I'm not going to retract that. So yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, well that's fair. I mean, like, look, I'm never going to force someone to be on a panel that they don't want to be on with, and it is what it is. Okay, well.
Also, I kind of find that whole "you insulted my honor" thing to be kind of lame. It's like, no, Ryan, I think you're a liar, and we can still debate. Like, sure. You think I'm a liar? It's fine. I don't fucking care.
Okay, $5 from Pondering Politics says, I personally like Gibbs, but Pisco got him on the 2024 election. LOL. $5 from Rien is a fish. Generally, what is the point of having Gibbs on the panel if he's just going to get smashed and yell incoherently over everyone else? I think we went over that already. It's a good demonstration. You can disagree with that if you'd like. $5 from Potter Tor. Gibbs think he is Hugh Hefner, but he's just a huge effer. Okay. $10 from Dr. Adam Brigadier General. To quote a very smart Kenyan, corruption isn't bad. Corruption is only bad when I'm not involved. That's exactly how this panel...
I saw that clip.
That's exactly how this panel is acting right now, except for Dev and Wick. Okay. $2 from Tescal Johnson.
When did I say that I'm okay with corruption when it benefits me? I'm not okay with that.
$2 from Tescal Johnson. Bias moderator. Pisco is lying. You got to be a little more specific.
He's just
specific. There's no ever specific thing.
I know him. He's just shit.
Tescal Johnson's a little. He's a troll. He's just saying things to stir the pot. Odashara for $5. I don't know why these guys love defending Trump, especially after he said he'd have a threesome with his 2 sons. Morally bankrupt? I don't. Wow. And then $2 from Stormwolf. Mr.
Oh, that was me. That was me begging to get in.
Looking forward to call-ins.
Dude, my blood pressure was rising listening to this.
$5 from It's Fishy. Stream Riffs has 2 moods. Being a complete idiot who doesn't know anything and not answering questions. I think this dude may be the biggest hack you've ever had. All hat, no fish for $5. Do you think Mitch McConnell and Jordan Peterson are fishing together at the Great Bass Pond in the sky?
No, I don't think they're dead. I just think that they're not doing so hot.
Yeah. $10 from Odashara. Corruption, eh? Tell me why Trump won't pass the bipartisan housing bill. Look,
that was so many subverting.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the thing with like the whole subverting voters' interest thing. Like, first of all, that's a retarded definition of corruption. But second of all, Trump's entire where's manufacturing jobs, immigration really just hasn't dealt with.
Infrastructure weak.
Infrastructure hasn't come up. Even in the first term, we didn't get the wall done properly, right? Like no promises he ever makes are fulfilled, right? There's just nothing.
Except for the corrupt ones. Except the corrupt ones where he has unilateral.
Like pardoning J6ers. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He gets those done for sure.
Oh, why I have you here? Mr. Pisco. You said something on the Live and Learn panel yesterday that kind of frustrated me and annoyed me about the Plattner thing. Like, no one is asking you to feel bad about your endorsement, right? That's not my ask, at least.
Sure.
But I think it's helpful to understand why, I guess, the methodology you used to endorse this man and why it was probably a mistake in retrospect to do so. I think there's a second accusation that hit just today. So not only was the accusation about the sexual assault, but now there's a stealthing accusation that just hit from the Washington Post. So I guess my question to you is, like, what are you going to do differently going forward when you're analyzing candidates for
I don't think. No. That's what I'm wondering, is where you think I had the wrong take. I never trusted him. I think that you were right not to trust him. I took everything he said with a grain of salt. I thought there are specific instances where I'm calling out his bullshittery, including specifically on his call to impeach certain justices, including some other shit that he said. And so I'm just like questioning, like, what about my either factual discernment or ethical discernment?
Is this mine or you?
It's okay, thank God. Your mic is like getting really staticky. I don't know if it's what it is. It might have been a wire come out, but yeah.
Oh yeah, because you're getting like super soft and super static. It's very hard to hear you as you go. Now I can't hear you at all. Uh-oh. He's dodging the question, gang. He's dodging it, okay?
What that sounded like, Pisco, was your XLR cable fucking up.
Testing 1 2 3. How about now?
You're good.
Okay, you're good.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, you're asking, like, what would you do differently? My answer to you is, what do you think I did wrong? I mean, what about my factual discernment or ethical outlook do you disagree with?
Okay, I think that being willing to endorse the man who had like you said, you did not trust him. You noticed all the issues that he had, the myriad problems that he had, even before this latest round of accusations.
Correct.
And we all didn't trust this guy. I guess
I thought he lied about the tattoo. I said it multiple times.
Yeah. Why would you endorse someone knowing that they are almost assuredly going to damage the Democratic brand?
So that's something that
I was gonna say. Just
let him answer the question. I want the answer to the question. So, then you can ask. Okay.
If my assessment was overall that Plattner was going to be bad for the Democratic Party and the future of our country, I wouldn't have endorsed him.
That's the disconnect. Is like.
Yeah. So
obviously you made a mistake
I'll put
with
you
that
to the question, right?
Thing.
So when it comes to the primary, are you talking about the primary endorsement?
No, I'm talking about the endorsement after the primary, because we all understand primary endorsement. I don't think you did. You endorse him during the primary?
I did.
Well, then now I have two problems.
Okay,
right?
So which do you want me to address first? So which
the primary endorsement first. That's my bigger. Like, I actually have a bigger problem endorsing him during the primary.
Right? Yeah. So my decision to endorse him in the primary had to do with who I thought was most likely at that time to be able to take on Susan Collins and win. And additionally, because I thought that the primary, so that's one reason. I thought that given polling that existed then, and given my also my intuition about the contrast between a younger person in Graham Plattner and Susan Collins, a much older person who seems more weak, and my experience in the state of Maine, which I do have, I thought the Plattner would be a better contrast, and he was doing better in the polls. So that's reason number one. And reason number two, I considered it to be a fait accompli that Plattner was going to win. So those are the two reasons that I endorsed Plattner in the primaries, because I thought he already had it in the bag, and I thought he was better positioned, all else equal, compared to Mills, to defeat Susan Collins in the general election. That's my explanation for it. And now it's based on polling data, and that's based on my intuitive assessment of the candidates and who would be a better contrast to Susan Collins.
So follow up to that. Okay. Yep. Assuming that first of all, have you withdrawn your endorsement since then?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great. So assuming, however, these allegations had hit, they had been credible as they were, but the people looked at it and no one cared. He wasn't being pressured out. And to be clear, he may not still drop out. He may actually be, unfortunately, he may stay past the 13th.
Yeah. So
wouldn't that?
I know what you're getting at. Yeah. So this is Soy Pill's question. So here's the fundamental question, right? Is there an act that one could take that is so evil and reprehensible that I ignore the cost-benefit analysis overall to the health of the country? And the answer, I think, is no.
Hold on.
So you're asking me, right? So
it would, but I think the fundamental,
assuming that the candidate is viable, right? Assuming the candidate is viable, right? and assuming that the candidate can actually achieve, and there's some reason to believe that they can achieve the harm reductionist ends, I think it'd be a moral monster to let that pickiness or choosiness, even on issues of deep moral failing, prevent you from analyzing the costs and benefits. And so that's why I'll ask you, if given the choice tomorrow, it was Graham Plattner, as he is now, and Susan Collins, and you could just decide, Wick, you could just decide who was going to be in the Senate tomorrow, who would you put in the Senate?
Graham Plattner, Susan Collins, the question is?
Yes, that's the question. I'm gonna give you the answer, and then I want to explain the answer. Susan Collins, and I'll explain why. I think that having Plattner as an elected senator for the Democratic Party, with everyone knowing the allegations that he had, will do much more long-term damage.
Oh, no, assuming that that's not on the table. Sorry. Assuming that that's not on the table. Assuming that there are no second-order effects, right?
Sure. If there are no second-order effects, then fair. Then I'll pick Plattner. But my issue is that there are second-order effects. And in fact,
I agree. So that's why I've rescinded my endorsement, and that's so because I do believe that's why. By the way, when we've had this conversation with, it's all consistent, right? When we had the conversation with Hutch about Epstein, right? What if Epstein were a candidate? And the question really is, well, let's say that Epstein is a Democrat, and you really won't hurt the brand long term. And you really won't have second-order effects if he's in the president instead of Trump. Would you pick Epstein? I bite the bullet any day. Yes, for harm reductionist purposes. But the truth is, the reason why I answer no to that question is you can't isolate the second order effects. You can't isolate the fact that no one's going to work with Plattner in the Senate, right? So now, given what we know now, I think that is totally tenable. I think the difference between you and I is you took that position before these allegations came out.
Because based on what we knew, based on all the fact pattern that we had, and the fact that we had his campaign manager, his initial campaign manager, quit because they recognized that there's more coming out, and he was lying. I agree. Right? I think that this was sufficient to, again, we both had incomplete information here, to analyze that information and say, hey, there is a high likelihood that there are going to be more and more damaging allegations in the future. Therefore, endorsing him now is going to do damage to my credibility.
So here's a question for you.
And
even when the Democrats endorse?
Hold on. I'll finish, and then I'll answer your question, right? That's going to do damage to my credibility. It's going to do damage to the Democratic Party as a whole. It's going to do damage across the board. So the proper response when these allegations first started dropping would be to, we don't just not endorse, we disavow, and we're calling for him to drop out of the race. That should have been, I think, based on the evidence.
Real quick here, guys, I got to take off.
Dev, we love you, buddy. Yeah, what do you got coming up, Dev? What do you got coming up?
Nothing till I'm done moving. That's pretty much how it is. I gotta finish. I gotta finish moving all my shit over. But you know what? Once I've moved, it's into a place where it's gonna be a lot easier for me to do streams and do panels and stuff. So you'll probably see more of me, hopefully. So hopefully, that'll probably all be set up in the next couple weeks.
Thanks.
So that's all. That's all good news.
Appreciate you, brother. Yeah. Thank you.
See you guys later.
For your debunks.
Yeah.
Later.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. Have fun.
Now, now ask your question again, so I remember.
So basically, I'm agreeing that if you think that there's going to be some significant brand harm to the Democrats that would jeopardize, right? We're talking about materially jeopardize, right? We're not talking about trivially. We're talking about something that's non-trivial.
It's going to make it harder to win races in the future.
Correct.
Yes.
Then I absolutely agree with you. I wasn't convinced that was the case at the time of the primary. And for you, right, at the time when the Democrats endorsed, at the time he met with Chuck Schumer and promised the leadership that nothing else was coming out.
Yeah, that was
at the time
mistake.
Okay, so you're saying it's a mistake, but at that time, you as Wick, after apparatus of literally the DNC account, the Democrat account is run by the DNC. The DNC is endorsing him. You have major senators everywhere endorsing him. I think that, frankly, now I'm not saying that you're wrong about him as a character. You were always right about his character. I don't disagree that his character is bad. I just didn't think that he was a rapist. But in terms of his line and him being a bad character, you were always right, and I always agreed with you on that. The only difference between us is, first on the primary, whether or not at that moment the reputational harm was such that, or risk was such that this kind of second order effect should be considered. We disagree on that. But at the time of the general, for you, Wick, once the DNC endorses him, once all of the apparatus is basically and it's actually the one representative who says, I'm not going to endorse, who's looked out as a kind of weird person, I think, frankly, and I agreed in that moment, given that calculation, I think for you, it is not logical to not endorse in that moment. I think that it was actually the wrong thing to do, given what you knew.
Yeah, you might disagree with my
It
logic.
ended up being correct.
Sure. Well, first of all, it is absolutely logical, and not only is it logical, I ended up being correct about this. If people had followed
in retrospect, you're correct. Yeah,
yes, but the reason I was able to get to that, even though a lot of people were not, is because I think that my methodology for analyzing the information and making predictions was just better. And look, at least in this instance, I understand that there was it was very inconvenient and it was very risky for me at the moment to go against the establishment, to go against the current of people who were standing by and endorsing Plattner. I think, however, that people, including the DNC, by the way, including Elizabeth Warren, including Bernie Sanders, including all the people who did come out and endorse this guy, right, to kind of go back and analyze, hey, how did we get this one wrong? What should we have weighted these character signs more heavily? I think the answer to that is yes. I think that the answer to that in the future should be that before Ro Khanna, the DNC, Chuck Schumer, all the people who actually endorsed him, right, we should have a higher standard for our candidates, because if we don't, we're going to be stuck in a situation where we got a credibly accused rapist who is basically holding us hostage about whether or not, like, he's going to drop out. He's demanding 100%. That he gets to be able to pick his successor, or he's not going to drop out.
Apply that to Jay Jones.
Huh?
Wait, can I just jump in here?
Apply that to Jay Jones.
Yeah, no, I called for Jay Jones to drop out too. He ended up winning,
so
but I do
right
think
about that or wrong about that.
I think I'm right about that, though.
Jay Jones, the current. So if you were, if
I think Jay Jones has damaged our credibility as a party. Yes.
No one's talking about Jay Jones. No one. That's not relevant at all to people's discussions.
I wouldn't say
no, that's
that,
not true.
He's damaged our credibility, but what I would say is that, like, okay, here's my
quickly, but no, I disagree with this. I do think he's damaged our credibility. People do bring up Jay Jones, but
general made sense up until recent allegations that I think crossed the line. That was like,
so you and I agree with that. So just to be clear,
I don't think endorsing the primary made sense, and I think Wick's
in virtue of what
kind of some of the
so why don't you agree in the primary context at the point in which I endorse, in which he was overwhelmingly the favorite, and in which. But he was.
Sure, I don't want to derail too much from what Wick was saying. I don't want to derail too much from what Wick was saying. From what I saw, even though Mills was less favored than Plattner, she was still ahead in most of the polls against Collins. So that's number one.
But Plattner was more ahead. So that's
yes. But this is what I'm getting at. It's a trade-off. My other thing was, from what I had been researching with polling data, specifically in general, that I think that from what I saw, independents and typically like your broader base tends to be less forgiving of these types of controversies than your Democratic primary base, which tends to mean, and the attack ads hadn't started rolling out as much on Plattner, which was my fear. And third of all, I thought there was like some level of moralness where, like, I don't trust this person. I didn't think he was a Nazi, but I was like, this person is so politically stupid that I just don't trust him.
I
think
reasonable
like
minds could have differences of opinion about who to endorse in the primary, given the options available at the time.
Sure, but I think my critique is, I feel like there was a very large dismissal of like, no, these aren't real big issues. And I think that's my critique.
For me?
I'm not saying you. I didn't follow your specific coverage of Plattner in general. I'm just saying in general what I saw. It might be the case.
Hold on. Well, can we just ask on that? Kyle Kulinski, we can all acknowledge that he probably was overlooking some of the things that he probably shouldn't overlooked when it came to
I know he was, because I know that he dismissed out of hand all of the allegations in the New York Times report. And I saw that and I didn't agree with that. I think that
Emma Vigeland.
For him to say that. I don't know about Emma Vigeland's specific coverage. I just remember Kyle Kulinski's. But any
Jon
individual
Stewart.
Who, it depends. I didn't see Jon Stewart's specific coverage, but if you point me to individual statements,
I can give you the links.
There's one thing to notice, and I think it's totally
quickly
fine
because I got a point to make with this, right? But
okay, go for it.
Yeah. The point I'm making here is that after these serious allegations started dropping and we found out that he was lying at least about some of them, there was a group of individuals, and not you, to be clear, I'm not talking about you in this instance, but there was a group of individuals where had Plattner on their platforms, on their shows, which would interview him, which gave him the softest of softball interviews. When I think that was a disservice, and those people need to be held accountable for not pressing Plattner more when there was good reason to do so.
So when there was good evidence, so let's take it one by one and make sure we understand.
Sure.
So let's, for example, talk about Pod Save America. I didn't watch their entire interview with Graham Plattner, or I think they had even maybe multiple events, but I do know that Jon Favreau was heavily saying that he's a changed person, that he made some mistakes, he's a good person, all that stuff. And I don't think that was justified in virtue of the body of work that we'd seen and basically his life story. I think that there's some aspects that even his detractors say are positive about him. People are complicated. I don't want to say all bad, all good, everything, whatever. So let's take that specifically. Should he have been more scrutinizing of Plattner's lies regarding his tattoo?
Yes.
I think the answer is yes, right? That's a specific area where Plattner lied about his tattoo. It's just not credible, this whole story that he just found out about it.
Absolutely.
At the campaign. I've always called that out. And so, yes, when you criticize people who are saying that he's not lying based on the evidence, I think that's a fair criticism. When you criticize people who say all these dismiss out of hand as corrupt or false, these allegations made from people who are, yes, politically biased for sure, but where that's not enough just to discount out of hand. Okay. Yes, 100%. But here's the ultimate question. That's why I'm focusing on the Jay Jones example to get to the endorsement question, because the endorsement question isn't a factual discernment question. The endorsement question is how much it's about risk tolerance, and it's about our intuitions about the brand harm. So in the Jay Jones example, if we had listened to you and forced Jay Jones to step out of the race, it's your contention that that would be better for the Democratic Party.
Yes. I think whoever we replaced him with would have also won because Jay Jones, let's be clear, Jay Jones won by the least amount of the least victory.
Just one thing.
It was too late.
Maine has very specific laws that let you replace. I don't know if that exists in every state, and I don't even know if at that point you would have even been able to replace him.
When did the accusations against Jay Jones drop?
A week or two before the election.
I remember it was
really close to the election.
I'd have to check.
When did they?
Even then, I think it was well past when you would have been replaceable.
So if I can't kick him out, right? If I can't kick him out,
according to AI, this is October 3rd, 2025. That is weeks before the election.
Yeah, but was it also was it enough time? Would we be able to replace him on the ticket? That's a good question.
I don't think legally. No, I don't think you legally could at that point.
I don't know that to be a fact, but I have a strong suspicion that
election laws are really strict on timelines.
And
sure.
Again, because I think in Virginia, I think I do know this, but Virginia early voting starts before October, so I actually am pretty confident that you wouldn't have been able to change it. Yeah,
you wouldn't have been able to.
Okay, Pondering Politics is going to pop on in a sec, by the way, so keep going.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
But,
I think you had a debate tonight. I was about to switch over to that debate.
Well, I guess you can move it over here. But one other thing I was going to say is that even with the Jay Jones thing, I think one thing I did appreciate was I think a lot of Dems came out and condemned him, right? So even in that situation, I think it was good that Dems said, look, we might not be able to kick him out and replace him, but we can at least say we don't condone a lot of this behavior.
We can disavow the guy.
Except when it comes to Spanberger, she was dodging like a motherfucker. She was sweeping. And now, and
I don't think she should have. I think it would be better for her and for the party that if she had been I disavow this guy. I can't kick him out legally, but we don't want him in the party. I think A, he probably would have still won. Okay. And B, right? I think it would have put us in a better position.
If the candidate disavows, so if Spanberger says, I disavow, now she could say, I disavow the comments. That's fine.
The important linguistic language she uses is not important. It's the fundamental idea of putting distance and making sure everyone knows that they are not on the team.
Perfect. I'm fine, by the way, and never said you shouldn't critique Plattner. I don't know where this comes from. What I'm saying is, I think the hand wringing on the decision.
We're talking about you didn't just not. Hold on, you endorsed him.
I endorsed him. No.
Yeah. But that's the problem, right?
I endorse Biden and I criticize Biden. I endorse. And again, I'm not comparing them in any other respect.
I'm saying to not endorse people like this. That's my ask of you, right? If we got, let me finish real quick, just so I can make sure that everyone understands what I'm asking, is to you specifically, Pisco, in the future when you have a situation where you have credible evidence that a politician is lying repeatedly about some pretty serious scandals, just do not endorse them. You can say nothing.
So let's just be very hyper specific. So you say Mr. Mooten was wrong for endorsing.
Mr. Mooten, anyone. Mr. Mooten, who endorsed Hutch, who gave him $50. He was wrong. Yes.
IRI, you would condemn him for endorsing.
Yes.
The DNC for endorsing.
Yes.
Basically everyone.
Yes.
Okay.
Everyone who did that endorsement was wrong to do so, and they should reevaluate the way they came to that decision to endorse in the future. Yes, that's my point.
Let's say that all we knew about Plattner then, at this point, wasn't that he is a credibly accused rapist, wasn't that he's a credibly accused, I think, also burglar, because I think he broke in or at least made his way without any authorization.
It's unclear, yeah.
Let's say that the extent of his improprieties and scandals were what was revealed prior, and that was
the initial New York Times article,
the New York Times reporting, and the Nazi tattoo and things related to that.
Yeah, and his response to them. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Pricing in his lies, right?
Yes,
Pricing in his lies, as I did and always did.
Yes, I think that should have been enough to say I'm not endorsing this man. Now you don't have to campaign against.
Here's why I think the primary should have been. People should have said the Nazi tattoo was disqualifying for the primary. Insofar as he's the general candidate and we've accepted as a party, we're looking past it. I'm not a fan of that. I really hate that mentality. But if we only knew that was coming out, I think Wicks and I had a conversation like 2 days ago about, or maybe it was yesterday, about how we should have seen more stuff coming out, which I think is worth talking about. But given that it was just that, we knew for a fact it was just that, I begrudgingly support him in the general because I don't think it's enough to disqualify him. But I do think that there's a point to be made that the Nazi tattoo itself should have been enough for everyone to come back around and say, we do not want this in our party. This cannot be acceptable.
So to address that point first, on the I'll do the general first, and then I'll go to the primary. So in the context of the general, I think that if you don't make that begrudging acceptance / endorsement / approval / a commitment to vote for, or if you take a position that you shouldn't do this in that moment, I think that you actually don't think Trump is that bad, because it's not between Collins. I'll give you an example. Let's say that I'll give you an example right now. Roy Moore versus Graham Plattner. In that context, does your decision change?
Oh man, Roy Moore. That's a good question.
I think you stay with Plattner at that point.
Yeah,
So this is in the general election. You have Plattner with the same exact baggage, going at the time when you said it was unjustified to endorse him prior to the rape story.
Yeah.
Right. So we can adjust this. So at that point in time, he's running not against Susan Collins, Roy Moore. Is it still wrong to endorse Plattner in that moment?
Hold on. 1 second. Do you guys hold on? I need to mod someone in my chat because we're having an issue. Hold on.
Yep,
sorry. Answer that question. I'm not dodging it. I'm just trying to.
Yeah. No.
To deal this. Okay.
Where I'm going to get at, Wick, and this is before I know the answer, is it shouldn't matter, because this is a vote against Trump. Any vote in the Senate right now it's not about the body itself. You might think it's about that, but it's not. They're on the margin. There's some additional, constituent services that matter. Surely, for sure, the brand stuff matters 100%. But the primary thing
just a quick housekeeping thing.
Yeah.
Gang, do not spam fucking slurs in my chat. We are a free speech platform.
They were doing it to mine too.
But do not do that. You will be banned. Okay.
It's against TOS, guys.
Yes.
Your chat was insane today, Wick.
Look,
I don't know what they were. I don't know what they were on. Dude.
We're doing the best we can. Okay?
No, I'm not blaming you. To be clear, I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying, I don't know what the fuck they were on. I hate your chat normally, but.
Oh, look. Okay, but yeah, you can't. I'm gonna need. We'll talk about it. We'll get there. To answer your question, though, and I understand your point, but the calculation that I am making is what is going to do the most long-term harm. Is it going to be electing someone like Roy Moore into the Republican Senate seat for however long? Or is it going to be having someone who I have a very high likelihood to suspect is going to have more things come out about them, because I know that the way that they have dealt with the previous instances that have come out are so damning that this man cannot be trusted at all. And so that's the calculation I have to make. There is a point. Point where someone is so bad in the short term that, we just have to go with Plattner, right? Just because.
I think there's a valid argument. Right? I think there's a valid argument there, but I'm going to ask my question again, right? I do think that you called for him, obviously the calculus, but let's say you take up that calculus of future stuff. I don't think, at that point, I think Plattner was still polling ahead of Mills by a decent amount. or not Mills, Collins, when the initial New York Times article broke. I think at that point I would still say that like there is enough harm. This rape thing really pushed it over the line for me. I think you have a point.
We all
with,
agree
like,
on that.
whole,
No,
I'm just saying, I want to clarify. I think Wick has a point though on the future prospect that we can't ignore, right? Because that is something he brought up in the initial conversation. That
I'm not trying to isolate that away. I'm not trying to say that Wick needs to ignore his prognosis at the time that I'm referencing, because obviously I'm relying on what my prognosis was to defend my endorsement in the primary before. I'm not saying
this is the whole point of the discussion.
Yes, correct. So we're talking about the expectations given that moment, and so what I offered him was a hypothetical where you have someone who's more unsavory than Susan Collins, which I'll grant, which is Roy Moore, as in the sort of competition against Plattner. In that context, pricing in your expectations of Plattner, pricing in your knowledge of Roy Moore, would you make a different decision was the question. And I think I heard you say, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'd have to. It becomes a much harder decision at that point. I acknowledge that there is a point, there is a line. I can't give you the specific one, right? But there is a line.
A specific line, yeah.
Yeah, there is a line where I'm like, okay, even with all the baggage, even with my suspicions of what's going to come out, this is so damaging in the short term, and this is so bad in the short term.
My point is, it shouldn't affect it at all, and here's why, right? Because how much damage is one senator going to do in that context? Senator qua senator. In other words, senator as the senator. The specifics about them beyond just their party affiliation. And my response to that is like very little, right? There are on the margin, right? You have Fetterman types who do cross across the aisle, and there are some people definitely at the margin. But in general, the party affiliation in the age of Trump should be enough. And whether it's Roy Moore or Susan Collins, in terms of our macro goal to stop the Trump corruption, to stop the administration in their tracks, and to get justice, it makes very little difference to me whether we have fucking Ken Paxton in Texas versus John Cornyn. To me, I'm largely now on the margin. Yeah, maybe if I had to pick between them, I might pick John Cornyn, but it's a marginal issue. To me, I view them almost identically because I'm not looking at the Senate seat. I'm looking at the presidency. That's the responsibility. That's the job that matters right now. That's where we need to buck. And so the reason I present that hypothetical is not to give you like an exact line where the odious nature, like if we have Hitler, I'm sure if I gave you Hitler versus Plattner, you pick Plattner, right?
Yes, obviously.
So there's some point at which the hypothetical you accept it or whatever.
Yes,
that's not the point of the hypothetical. What I'm trying to tell you is, as between Roy Moore and Susan Collins, you should largely be indifferent if your fear really is brand risk. If your fear really is brand risk, then who the fuck cares? In the short to medium term, the sort of having a Roy Moore or having a Susan Collins is really, you're going to be indifferent as between them, because if there's some consequential vote that matters for Trump, Susan Collins is going to be there. It didn't matter in the impeachment votes.
I disagree. I don't think that Roy Moore is the same as Susan Collins, nor would they. I think that, for example, I don't think Roy Moore would have voted to convict Trump.
You should not be sensitive to the difference between them, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you should not be sensitive to the distinction in the context of a Senate race, because their voting record is what most matters at this present moment. It's what 99% of it matters at the moment when you're deciding on a senator right now. It's that. So in terms of results, unless you can show, and all I'm trying to say is the brand risk aspect would still be present, whether it's Roy Moore or whether it's Susan Collins, because you're still endorsing someone that you think is a long-term consequence of the Democrats.
To be clear, in that situation, I wouldn't endorse anyone, right? I would say nothing.
Hasn't changed,
right?
Yeah. So now I think you're being rational in that we can increase the scale within some amount of reason to people who actually ran within the United States.
Like, obviously, if it was Hitler, I'd endorse Plattner, right? But when it comes to, if we, for example, if Plattner stays in with the allegations he has, you've withdrawn your endorsement. You're not going to endorse Collins, are you?
No, I'm not going to endorse.
Okay.
I'm not going to endorse.
But you
Collins.
still withdrew
I'm not saying
your
that you would
endorsement,
endorse
correct?
Collins. Yeah.
You wouldn't reapply it?
I wouldn't, unless, again, who knows, some crazy circumstance. But
sure,
I'm not going to.
We're assuming that nothing comes out to exonerate Plattner, right? And
nothing comes out to exonerate, to prove that this whole thing is wrong. Yeah. Nothing comes out that fundamentally changes the harm calculation. But my belief is that Plattner right now, even if he were to win, he wouldn't be helpful. People wouldn't want to work with him. He wouldn't be able to lead these things. That's why I think when Hutch presents the Epstein hypothetical, it's true. If you hold all else equal and you just give the question, because we're consequentialists, right? We're consequentialists.
To an extent, yes.
Everything.
There is a line for me, even with the consequences. But, for example, there is a line for me. I asked Soypill this question on my stream. If Biden had broken in and raped his family, would he vote for Biden? even with if Biden would be a better candidate and be better overall, I still wouldn't vote for the guy who broke in and raped my family. I just wouldn't do it.
Here's the question. So what's worse? What's worse, rape or genocide?
Probably genocide.
Okay, if Biden said, "I believe what's happening in Israel is a genocide," and unfortunately, even though I do think that they're doing a genocide, it's in the U.S. national interest to fund Israel. We cannot live in the world in which we're closing off communication. And so, imagine that he said that in private communications, and it was revealed, and that he said, "I believe it's a genocide." Would you drop support for Biden?
Probably not.
But you just said genocide is worse than rape.
Okay, yes, but one's happening to me. I'm a little selfish.
Were you raped?
That's a hypothetical. Biden comes in and rapes me and my family. Yes.
No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying.
Okay, that's what I'm saying, though.
So my
would you, if Biden came in and raped you and your family, would you vote for it?
So this is my hypothetical.
There.
Okay, yeah.
I had this muted the whole time.
There are some cases in which I'm not a perfectly neutral person. So if it was a person who like had done some particular thing to my family, if there was something particular to my family, perhaps I couldn't vote for that person. And that's a flaw.
That's all I'm
in
saying.
Me. I recognize that as no, but I'm not giving that hypothetical. This is a hypothetical I'm giving, right? The hypothetical is Plattner confides in you, hey, I actually did rape this woman, and I did that. I'm sorry. And then Biden confides in you and says, Israel is committing genocide, and I am funding and I guess technically furthering that genocide, but right now geopolitically I can't do otherwise, and really my hands are tied here in that context. And so he says, so therefore I'm going to continue.
So I
to
have
genocide.
just to be clear,
I have those are the two scenarios, and I'm asking you whether it would.
I'm
cause
just
you
clarifying
to
these two choices. In one world, Biden admits to raping someone.
No.
Oh, wait, can I try explaining?
It's a Plattner versus Biden comparison.
Can I try explaining?
No, I want to. Yeah, go for it.
No, I'm trying to I think it's getting lost. Biden says, I'm going to fund a genocide, but I just can't stop it, right? Like, I was sending money to Israel. It's a genocide.
I don't want to take it. So he can stop it if he wants, but they just think that there's other interests at stake that are more important.
Biden says he wants to continue funding a genocide.
I know I said my hands are tied, but I'm trying to give it like a free choice, more or less, that he can do it. Yeah.
Biden is choosing to continue funding a genocide. We all agree it's a genocide. Plattner's rape allegations are confirmed, but are still there. Who do you vote for? I think that's the analogy Pisco's getting at.
Would it cause you? So it was enough to stop you in the Plattner case, right? To say this act is so bad that I just can't support him. Really, unless there's the most extreme of consequences in the case of like a Hitler candidacy. So now I'm just going down to the Biden example where Biden confides in you privately and says, "Yeah, I'm funding a genocide." I just think that, like, unfortunately, that's the best option here.
I think that I still go with Biden in that because there are other factors where he says, I have to do this because these geopolitical situations are such that I cannot. That's a different thing than I raped someone, right?
Yeah,
these are different choices. Even though one is, hold on, let me explain. Even though one has much more harm done, even though one is much more, I guess, egregious when you're looking at it in a vacuum, we aren't looking at it in a vacuum. We have to weigh in,
Final question, and then you can interrogate me all you want. Final question: if it came out and it was proved that Biden forced himself on a woman when he was 50 and digitally penetrated without consent a woman, would you have stood out and not endorsed?
I would withdraw my support.
Election? Yes. You wouldn't have endorsed him against.
I would have withdrawn my support. I would have sat out.
My belief on that. Yes. Listen, I don't think.
Who would you have voted for?
Who
would you have voted for?
Good question, because they both are rapists.
I do have a good fucking question.
In my view, and I'll pass over, I don't think that that's good. I think that that's saying either Trump's not that bad or I'm not sensitive to Trump's harm.
And I think that's
those are virtuous positions.
And I think it's good to have lines. It's good to have lines that you will not cross. And I think that
not if they lead you to do wicked things. And I think that would be a wicked thing to stay out of the 2020 or 2024
I think it would be wicked to vote for a rapist.
It's the lesser evil, right? So the lesser evil is pro tanto good.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if we can do this calculation where we keep picking these lesser evils and eventually arrive at a situation where we've suddenly done good.
Isn't this the argument of the lefties? I mean, I know you disagree with some of the facts on that, but isn't it the same logic of the lefties saying?
Yeah, but the difference is their logic. The facts are wrong. It's a factual.
I understand their facts are wrong.
If their facts were correct, I would be agreeing with them. But their facts are incorrect.
Okay, I mean,
you mean if you agreed that what happened in Gaza was a genocide, you would agree?
No. If because the accusations that are being made against Biden and Kamala is that not only was what's happening in Gaza was a genocide, but that Biden and Kamala were complicit,
definitionally facilitating it, right?
And not just facilitating it, but participating. The accusations were they had troops on the ground participating with the IDF soldiers, killing Palestinian children.
Yeah, this is where I disagree. This is where I disagree, right? Because for me,
that was just not true.
Biden and Kamala do not have genocidal intent,
right? Like, it's hypothetical.
So I agree. So I agree as applied. I think in order to be someone who's facilitate or intentionally aiding and abetting, as we traditionally understand that, there needs to be the same genocidal intent present in them. So you could say that they're like negligent in handling genocide. Yeah, so you need some kind of like, they also need to have the intent, right? And that applies, you wouldn't say, for example, someone who sells a gun to an assassin, not knowing that they're assassin. Maybe they were like negligent in looking at the gun regulations, but you wouldn't call that person someone who aids and abets an assassin.
Negligence is a different thing, yes.
Yes, so I agree. So and then there's conversations about how much Biden knew, what they knew, whether or not they had the knowledge.
But all of this to say, if I knew for a fact that Kamala and Biden were killing people in a genocide, or at least sending their troops to kill people in a genocide directly, then I would have to withdraw my support.
What about selling arms to do that, right? Like, what if they were selling arms
as you go, there becomes a point where it's so disconnected that. I mean, I would still support them, even though what I think they're doing is negligent, bad, evil, whatever, right? Where is that exact line? I'm not sure, right?
I'm not trying to get you like an exact line. I'm trying to be like, people need to be sensitive to these policy-wide implications. And I think that people who, I appreciate that a lot of people do, and I think that that's good. And people should have that tuned on when it comes to Kamala and Biden. I'm gonna just be out there and say, even if I knew that Biden was taking these actions against Gaza and was knowingly sending arms in that context, because of harm reduction, I would still endorse Biden.
So what if Biden? So if
Biden
went to Gaza and he did this tour, like a safari, where he would hunt down Palestinian children, he was given a gun and he was hunting door to door to kill Palestinian children. You would still vote for this guy?
There are no second order effects. So if there are no second order effects in terms of the overall,
you knew, but you knew no one would find out. You knew, but no one else would find out. But you knew he was doing this.
In that context, I'm going to do the lesser evil. That's what it means for somebody.
Okay, I just couldn't. I couldn't do it
because you would be too virtuous. Even if it would save 1 million lives.
I don't think I could.
Even if it would save
pull the trigger on
people
this.
That you say
I just don't think I could.
People that you say are starving for with USAID.
People
that you say are suffering under the yoke right now. Even if it would save their lives, you'd say, folded arms, cold comfort. Sorry, I'm too pure.
I think I would have to. Have you ever read the book by Ursula Le Guin? Well, let me explain.
Well,
have you ever read the book by Ursula Le Guin called "Those Who Walk Away from Omelas"?
I think you're biting a bullet that you wouldn't actually believe. I think it's because you understand the implication that he's trying to map onto the actual situation. You can bite this bullet without changing your position. Obviously, voting for Plattner would be better in that situation.
Voting for Plattner? Hold on. I thought, are we voting for Biden in this situation? I thought that was the question.
Even not voting for Biden would be better.
If you actually care about the people you claim to care about that are dying because they don't have aid, or the people that you claim to care about when it comes to them being deprived of their liberty and being sent to seek caught, if you actually care about those people, as opposed to it just being a virtue signal, you would just suck it up and, notwithstanding the purity test, vote for the horrible person that's going to bring about the comparatively better results.
The reason why I wouldn't pull the trigger on the vote, even though I could understand that there would be U.S. aid would go away and you would have millions of deaths, is because I now know a piece of information about Biden, which would make me doubt his ability to make calls in the future. And so now I have a situation where I know this guy is
against Trump, but it's against Trump, Wick.
I'm just telling you, man. I couldn't pull the trigger on that.
Okay, then I don't think that you think Trump is that bad, or
no, I think Trump is evil. I think Trump is evil. I wouldn't vote for Trump either.
I don't think. I didn't say that you think that he is not evil. I agree that you think he's evil. I don't think that you think he's as bad as I do, and because clearly, right, you would vote for the rapist against Hitler, correct?
Sure.
You would vote for the rapist over Mussolini, right?
I don't think Trump is literally Hitler.
I agree that Trump is not literally Hitler. I'm just trying to understand, that it's not like there is some sensitivity to consequences, and whatever sensitivity that is, what we're experiencing under Trump should suffice any sensitivity bar when it comes to consequences.
I disagree with that. I think that there is a level of personal actions that Biden could have been engaged in knowingly, which would have made me withdraw my support, even if he was versing Trump.
If Biden said, "I hate N-words," would you vote for him?
Sure. That's not enough. It doesn't pass my threshold. But him going door to door hunting children for sport does.
Oh, no, but listen, my intuition.
Yeah, hold on. You understand that that's far worse than he hates N-words.
I'm willing to bite the bullet, conditioned on that not actually jeopardizing the ability to get to the lesser evil. That conditioned on those things being the case. I have no problem biting that bullet. The truth is, if he did that, Safari, we all know that it's all over, because we can't. That would be a situation in which the empirics don't meet out, that he's not going to be able to achieve the harm reduction end. He's not viable anymore. There's no more imperative to endorse, right? So, but we're taking the situation in which we're holding constant the factors that he is viable, that he is able to achieve those results. And you're saying you wouldn't vote for him if you knew he was a digital penetrator.
Because I would not be able to know for certain. I don't have a crystal ball. And so in that situation, I would say, and I understand that you were giving me the hypothetical that I could know, right? That I would, right? Because I would have to live with myself, man. And I don't know if I could.
How would you live to yourself with that's what I don't understand, right? I just understand lesser evil to be that which ought to occur, right?
What if you were the deciding vote? What if you were the deciding vote?
Man, that would be a shitty situation, but I don't think I could pull the trigger on the vote. I just don't think I could. I'm being honest with you. I don't think I could pull that trigger. Knowing that someone was doing that, I could, being able to look myself in the mirror every day, knowing that I pulled the trigger for someone who was hunting down children in the streets, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. It would be easier for me to live with the consequences of inaction than the consequences of action. Hold on. Do you not understand that as a concept?
Wait.
That's what power is.
Wait. You critique the people who abstain from voting for Biden because of Gaza, right?
Yes, because they're factually wrong.
Okay.
On what aspect? On about whether Biden was intentionally aiding and abetting it?
That Biden is aiding and abetting a genocide.
Well, their logic was Biden has currently been funding Israel. He will continue funding Israel. Now, we can say that Trump would have been worse.
Yes, I don't think funding Israel is necessarily an evil
even
act.
if I think that, even if it isn't a genocide, their point is, I cannot vote for someone who is sending money to Israel to bomb Gaza.
Sure, but
and they said, I cannot live with myself.
I understand,
do that, right?
But I think that their calculation is they're not living with themselves for something that's not an evil act. I don't think funding Israel is an evil act.
I mean, that's your subjective.
What about those voters? Because there were many of them who said this, that they had family members and friends who were killed in Gaza.
I mean, again, withholding your vote from Biden because you had family members killed in Gaza. I don't think the facts.
Easy for making Biden.
I don't think the facts
So you would say to them.
Well, wait, they're not even looking
at. You would say to them, no. This is a great example from Josiah. You would say to them, notwithstanding that
I'm on a fucking roll, obliterated,
notwithstanding the fact that your family was obliterated by bombs that were created in America and sold to Israel, not only is it like you have a moral imperative to vote for Biden. You would say that, wouldn't you, if you were being honest?
Yes, because Biden didn't kill your family. But if I found out that Biden hunted down and killed their family personally with a gun or a pistol, then I'd be like, okay, I get it, right? I get it.
Unless it was Hitler.
Yes, unless it was Hitler, yes.
Yeah, but the thing is, you should be sensitive to Hitler, and you should be not in that way, but you should be sensitive to.
Whoa!
Whoa!
You
should be sensitive to the consequences. You should be sensitive. You absolutely agree. You should be sensitive to the consequences of Hitler, and you should be sensitive to the consequences of Trump. And if you don't, I don't think that Hitler is the same bad as Trump, but
Trump is uniquely bad in the American context. I'm just going to grant you that. I'm just telling you, as a human being, as a person, if I knew that Biden had hunted down and killed children, whether it be Palestinian children or children in general, right? Then I could not pull the trigger for that person. I could not give my vote to that. And you can call that selfish. Hold on, you can call that selfish. You can call that like virtue, moral frogging or whatever. But it's just, I'm just telling you what is true.
Can we go over like the consequences of like? Can we go over like the consequences of voting for like?
But remember, this is a whole different experience than the original thing that I wanted to talk to you about, which I'm sure that. Hold on, shut up, Twink Twink. Okay.
No, but it's
this is the original. Hold on, please. This is far and disconnected from should we have supported Plattner in the primary, and should we have supported Plattner in the general? I think that you have a stronger argument for supporting him in the general. Fair enough. I still disagree with that. But
you disagree, and not just me.
Supporting him in the
just be clear.
Let me finish. Supporting him in the primary, however, I think that people who did so need to really reflect on the methodology that they used to make that choice and make changes.
Let's talk about it. So just to be clear, you disagree with Josiah. You disagree with IRI.
I do.
You disagree with Hutch on the general. We'll get to the primary. I just want to finish it. You disagree with Destiny. You disagree with Mr. Mooten. You disagree with the DNC. You disagree with Pod Save America. You disagree with basically most liberal left-wing commentators, correct?
They were all wrong.
No, they were wrong about the general election endorsement. Okay, so you're on an island there. Now let's talk about the primary. So on the primary, it's linked to my beliefs about the general. I'm telling you, I'm endorsing him in the primary because I believe he has the best chance to beat Susan Collins, and 2 reasons, right? Both. It's a fait accompli. The primary is essentially over. The polls, in my view, showed that at that time. Now, I will give you one thing. In retrospect, absolutely, you were correct in retrospect. But I just don't agree that you have the best epistemic frame, notwithstanding the fact that you were correct. And I'm sorry that sounds condescending to say to you right now, and it sounds like I should be eating more crow, but that is what I feel, and I'm being honest.
You can be honest with what you feel, but I just fundamentally disagree with you, and I think that you're wrong. And I think that having your epistemological frame is going to lead you to make further mistakes in the future.
Like Jay Jones.
When we could correct this. Yes, Jay Jones. People who endorse Jay Jones, that was a mistake, and that's a stain on their character. Yes.
How?
Because now, when
we have a Republican Attorney General right now in Virginia, and we wouldn't have many different of these cases that are actually having an effect in Virginia.
I refused to endorse Jay Jones, and I condemned him. Did Jay Jones lose?
Wait, I have a
question. No. You know that's the Hassan cop-out. You know the Hassan cop-out?
I don't know the Hassan cop-out.
Hassan cop-out is the following. When he's pressured on whether it was right to endorse Kamala or not, he says, bros, guys, I can't get it.
Okay, I understand what you mean now. Yeah,
they all
think
that I would have changed the course of the election. If Taylor Swift couldn't change the election, how could I? That's the Hassan dog.
But here's the thing. If I could have, it was my endorsement that would have gotten him over or under the line, I would have still withheld it.
Yeah, and then your fucking Lockheed liberal, fucking based queen, oh my God, Spanberger would be suffering under a oppositional attorney general. And we wouldn't have and a lot of relevant Virginia cases, by the way. There's a lot of relevant Virginia shit going on, and we'd be suffering under a Republican because, don't worry, Wick promises it would be in the best interest of the Democrats in the long term because someone might bring up Jay Jones in a federal election.
I think that it would have made it because, again, if you had it, well, you agree with me on this. You just think I'm wrong. But if you had a crystal ball and you could see that if we did not elect Jay Jones, that we would win more elections in the future than we would lose.
I'm not convinced that Jay Jones winning has any detrimental effect on Democrats.
As a heuristic, as a rule of thumb, okay, that refusing to endorse or support candidates who cross a boundary of bad character, that will lead us to more victories than this. We have to endorse even the bad character candidate because the alternative is a MAGA person.
Yeah, I think
Democrats I have a question for Wick. Insofar
quickly, and then I have to use the restroom. Then you guys can talk, and I'll be right back. Right? But
insofar as you could not replace Plattner, let's say everything we found out, the Nazi tattoo, everything.
Yeah. So like, if he stays in,
or
past
let's
the
say even the New York Times. Let's say we just had the Nazi tattoo in the Reddit post, the New York Times article, and the other article drop after the deadline to replace him.
Sure.
At that point, do you endorse him?
No. I shut up about it. I don't say anything about the race. I isolate and quarantine the race. I say I make no.
Do you think Democrats should disavow him?
Plattner, if it drops after?
I don't know if I would require disavowal, but I would condemn anyone who endorsed him specifically. Yes.
Can you repeat it again? I'm sorry.
Sure. I don't think I would require disavowal at that point, but I would.
The question, not the answer.
Oh, the question was: let's say the New York Times article and this most recent story drop after the deadline to replace him. So he's the general candidate. There's nothing we can do about it. Do you endorse him at that point? Wick said no. And he said
no, I wouldn't.
He wouldn't. You wouldn't endorse him?
No, the reason for that is I think Wick's thing goes through. I think that if you have someone who's credibly accused of rape in the general, I think that there can be a potential when it comes to people like Plattner, that it will hurt us in the long term. I do think that.
Sure.
And
what if it's just the New York Times story? What if it's just
then I would endorse. Yeah.
No, I still wouldn't, because again, that's indicative. Just the Nazi tattoo and his lying about it, right? To be clear, that's indicative enough of a pattern of behavior that I have a highly likelihood to suspect that more is going to come out in the future. And so, because I suspect that it's going to happen, I am going to make the decision not to endorse, because my endorsement.
Right, that's your epistemic. That's your predictions. And listen, I'm not telling you that there's not any risk to Plattner, and I accepted the risk when I made that calculation, and I turned out in retrospect to be wrong. I just think that in general, Democrats are too risk averse, and so even though I grant you.
Oh, that's 100% true. As someone who will simp for Democrats endlessly, I simp for the establishment as much as I can. Democrats are risk averse. It's a huge reason why people like Mamdani resonate well, because they're not viewed as this tiptoey.
I'm not dodging.
They just say
I'm not dodging, but I do have to use the restroom real quick, and then I want to hear from
I've had to use the restroom for 30 minutes. I came in here thinking, you motherfucker, he just. No, I wasn't engrossed. I was finishing up a conversation on tomfoolery. I was finishing up a question on tomfoolery.
Still going on?
And then no, I said that we'd be done around 9:30, and I hung on a little longer. I was thought I'd maybe come back in time to see how the corruption thing. I was listening until I had to start my tomfoolery thing. How did that conversation go?
It was absolute
fuck them.
I mean, they just are horrible.
Their definition of corruption is just bad policy, basically. Their point is immigration is bad policy because it subverts elections because you get more people. I had asked Wick to be on the show, but he'd already gotten you and Dev. But one thing I was planning for if I had gotten the show before he told me that was defining corruption as not just policy failures, but an intentional misuse of office for improper purposes for some reward, right? It's still
actual corruption, the actual definition.
And that's
of
why
public
with Gibbs,
corruption.
I didn't even bother getting when I called in. I didn't even bother getting into the corruption. What is it? I was just let's hammer it home things that are obvious signs of corruption, like the jet, like the Adams thing, like the trades is the most blatant thing ever. People who bitch about Hunter.
I just want to put this out there. I think it says something that nobody want to have this conversation. I just want to put it out there. I want to put it out there that nobody want to have this conversation.
I started with that, Josiah. I said, it's notable.
It's indefensible, even if you think Trump is doing a good job.
These people,
Also, even if you define it as a policy failure, as a failure to listen to your voters, which is what Schremer defined it as.
It was crazy. Yeah.
Trump has failed on that every fucking promise he's ever made.
I was like, well, so no new war. So you agree Trump is corrupt because he didn't fulfill that promise? And he's didn't have an answer to that. And there were many instances like that where
everything you can say about the Democrats as a whole, Trump is done. And one thing I also think, I actually think you should have made this clear from the start, Pisco. When you're look at the dog. When you're comparing Trump to the DNC, even if the DNC has more corruption, you're looking at an expanded time and expanded scope of people. So the Trump himself being less corrupt, if it's billions of dollars in the same amount in 1 year versus billions of dollars or even trillions of dollars
over
20 years.
Concentrated corruption.
Exactly, and that makes it more because it's a per capita thing almost.
The thing is, I think Josiah and I probably agree on this, that even if you
expound it, 100%. It just and again, it's all about putting them on the back foot. I think.
Okay.
They took you too offensively.
Just real quick before I let Josiah go, because I'm curious what he has to say. Oh, that's a adorable puppy. Okay.
That is.
Yeah.
It's my
$5
chunky boy.
$5 from Makai Alt. Would you vote for Epstein if he could end the genocide in Gaza?
Yeah, all else equal, assuming that doesn't undermine long-term harm reduction.
Sure.
The answer, of course, would be yes, right? You would agree with that, wouldn't you?
I don't know if
Yes
I
or no?
would. I don't know if I could do that, man. Same
Sorry,
reason.
but,
If I knew
you'd be a monster
Biden
not to,
had
right?
a.
So if I told you right now, vote for Epstein or we're gonna reinstitute slavery, isn't that the most easy question in the world?
No, it's not an easy question. It's not an easy question.
I would argue sex trafficking is a form of slavery.
Yeah. Child molestation.
I'm honestly also joking. I'm just
equal.
saying.
Take a moral degenerate, some awful person, but you just know that going the alternative is going to lead to more evil, right? Like, I just understand evil as what ought not occur, and what is good is what ought occur. Maybe there's some different notion of good and evil that you're using,
Perhaps.
and I'm happy to hear you on that. But like, when people say, well, there's one situation which is evil and there's another situation which is more evil, I just take as a comparative, it just is definitionally true that the one that's more evil ought not occur, and you should do what is within the constraints of the hypothetical to make that not obtain.
Certainly.
And so like, that's just
Yes,
definition.
God damn it! I'm sorry. I'm about to drown in my own urine, and I got to get this out.
My bad.
Storm, where are you on court packing now, buddy? You were the one who fought us before, right?
Right.
Where are you? Where are you with this? Where are you on your journey?
On my journey, I've been like really swamped with work and shit. I was also working on a campaign, so I haven't been super thinking about it as much.
It was the platter campaign.
I would be lying if I said my conversation with Pisco last time didn't move me a little bit more favorable to it. I still need to consider it, but a conversation with Pisco did make me a little bit more averse to it. I haven't had a chance. Like, I have them all saved on a doc somewhere to just think about what Pisco said, but I haven't fully thought about it. Listen, I wouldn't be lying if I said I didn't still have some concerns, and I'm still probably more against than I am for of it. But like, I'd also be lying if I didn't think there's more credence to it now.
Listen, that's all I'm looking for, man. Just incremental progress. I gotta say, the conversation with Jeb, very pleased with it. Pisco right out the gate.
Jeb told me about that conversation.
Pisco right out the gate. Jeb's like, yeah, I buy the self-defense argument. Self-defense argument makes sense.
Wow.
Like right out the gate.
That's
He was, dude, I'm telling you, listen, I don't know what interactions you've had with Jeb. I'm just saying that Jeb, in my experience, has been a good faith guy.
On voice, yes. On Twitter, no.
Just
on
saying.
voice, yes.
I'm just saying.
Is anyone good faith over Twitter?
I think Jeb Tan is good faith to you because he wants something from you, and that's your clout.
What?
Okay?
No.
Yes. People do that. You understand? They treat different people.
As someone who knows Jeb personally, I wouldn't say he's a clout driven.
I know Jeb personally. He is absolutely that.
Okay. Well, I didn't realize that there was. I didn't
realize
there was beef here. I didn't realize there was beef here. My apologies.
Yeah, Jeb Tan claims that MySpace is unsafe for women because women were going to get molested in MySpace.
This is a whole wait. Last time this happened, this is spirals. Let's not bring it up again.
Then I apologize. I apologize for referencing.
No, you can reference him. It's fine. You can work with him. Do everything you want.
I'm not working with him. We're not fighting here. We are not fighting. No fighting, okay?
I'm not fighting.
I will say, Josiah, one thing that did convince me, or not convince me, make me more
continue,
more like considerate of the argument, and especially the self-defense one, is that no one is like, I feel like I listen to the right, and maybe because they're all so fucking stupid at this point. So many people just refuse to engage with like the argument itself, or like downplay stuff around it that make me like, I still have my concerns, but like, was it your panel where it's like they were denying the Mitch McConnell thing as being like wrong?
Yeah,
like,
so this is where they
even Wick almost came out of his chair. Yeah. I remember that vividly because Wick like he was listening along and then he was like, wait a minute. Wait, you're saying that Mitch McConnell was trying to protect Barack Obama? Do you remember that?
Oh, that was
I
crazy.
do.
That was absolutely crazy.
I put that
panel when I reposted the video.
That's the thing. Like, I still have like concerns. Like, I talked to Pisco about it, but like the way people engage with this really pisses me off, and it makes me like way less considerate of the rights arguments on this.
So you're identifying a very sore part of it, and that's the part of the self-defense argument that's engaging on the relative norm violation. So in virtue of what is it worse to do legislative court expansion as opposed to non-legislative court fuckery, whatever you want to call it, court schmacking, court fuckery, court packing? What makes it worse? And they just don't have any answer. They're like, well, one's a law. Okay, yeah. It was legal to do what Mitch McConnell did. It's legal to pass a law. What's illegal about passing that law? And so they have nothing. And one has the virtues of all the democratic, legitimacy regarding bicameralism and presentment.
Can I just say?
So they always fail on that. Yeah.
I just want to tell, and I want you to hear me. Josiah, can you lean close a little so you can hear me when I say this?
Yeah.
Fuck you for bringing up court packing right now. We're talking about Plattner and stuff like that. Okay, so I want you.
We're talking about what?
Hear that? Plattner and whether or not people.
You were talking about corruption. Which listen, I had your stream on in the background while I was having my conversation.
You were the one who wanted this stream. First of all, let me ask you that: Are you happy with how the stream went? Yes or no? You can say no.
So I got to listen to. How long did it last before? Because
about 2.5 to 3 hours.
Okay,
they made it impossible. The conversation.
I got up until 7:50, and then I had to jump into the Tom stream, and I had you paused, And then as I was wrapping up with Tom, I'm like, okay, I wonder if Wick is still streaming. And then I refresh it, and it's like it cut off at 2 hours. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh,
so
yeah,
I'm trying not to be rude, and I feel bad because I'm trying to listen to Jeb, who it was a good conversation. But like I'm over here kind of looking on this monitor, and I'm trying to find what the fuck happened. And then I saw that a different stream, you started that one, and both guys were gone at that point. And somebody in your chat was like, yeah, he got banned for like dropping slurs or whatever.
Okay,
and then I was like, oh my
banned.
God.
He got told.
Oh, I saw your comment about this, because you would ask like what happened to Wick's stream, and you asked what happened to streamer, and someone said booted for like whatnot, right? And
did he get booted?
No, no, he just left. But someone said booted for slurs because streamer said slurs on the stream.
Oh, got it. So anyway, from what I heard, I personally enjoy interacting with one of the two in a non-political environment. I'm trying not to be rude here. I was hoping for a different combination because I wanted the most maximally, like I wanted not just somebody who was loud, but somebody who would really try to brawl with Pisco and Dev because they're two of the strongest anti-corruption warriors. And I was hoping to see the counterpoint there. The Stream Rift guy, he did not really engage. I thought that like his answers were atrocious in some respects. Like corruption is when Democrats don't do what their voters want, in which case it's like everybody's corrupt. Like Republican majorities want gun control legislation. We haven't had that in 30 years. So it's like Trump's unpopular in every major policy area. Yeah, I'm like, I don't understand what this means. And when he declined to answer Pisco's question, like he just said, I'm not going to engage. It's like, bro, like at that point, like I understand that that Pisco is not entitled to an infinite interrogation. There has to be give and take. But for him to just say, I'm not going to answer your question, it's like, well, then why the fuck should Pisco answer any of yours? Why are we even having this conversation?
We were in the weeds on their whole arguments, right? It's like, so they had the framing. I let them have the structure in terms of what arguments they wanted to present. And that's what they were having difficulty with, their own arguments.
Yeah. But from what I heard, I was enjoying it. I wanted.
No, I get you. I will say this. If there are Republicans out there, conservatives, Trump supporters, people who think that Pisco and Dev were fundamentally wrong, and they think that the chosen people did poorly. If you would like to try, right, and if you want to substantively engage with some of the points that are being made, I'd be happy to have you on to do it. If you think, like, I want a different format, right, we can even do that, right? We can make it more official. Like, you guys get to set the rules, is what I'm saying. Just let me know. But the reason we have the people on that we do is because this is it's tyranny of the present. The people who come get to have their say. So if you want to see better representation, be the change you want to see.
Speak up.
Come on my show.
Right? Yeah, I was hoping to see that. And no, I know it's not your fault, Wick, but
it is a little. Look, I do bear some responsibility for being able to book people, right? That is a fair critique.
Well, you can't make people, but you can't make people show up. And I don't know what the reasons that some of the biggest, like the most active people defending Trump or excusing Trump declined to do this.
Tyler declined because one time I told him, thank you for being a part of my show on Thanksgiving. And that was personal.
Can I just say, it did crack me up. Did you guys see this? Because I almost fell out of my chair. I remember very vividly, I was scrolling on my phone and I saw Wick drop a screenshot of him going, "I'll blow you." I'm like, what the fuck?
He said he claimed that because we were arguing on internet. Well, crazy, right? And he claimed that my assertion that he used to beg to get on my stream was a lie, that I was dishonest. That's a crazy thing to do when I have a clip of you saying that you will give me a blowjob to be on my stream, right? Jesus like, that's Christ. A crazy thing to say that you haven't begged to get on my stream before when I have that clip. I don't know why he would do that. Did he not think that I had that still? But no, he's like, I will suck your dick, Wick. Okay.
A request would have sufficed. A simple like, hey,
you
I'd like to
just
be
asked,
on the
bro.
yeah, like price of it's like free general admission, and you're offering to drop 20.
Wink
that was
anyone for content, bro. Wink is like
that
most
was
content-driven person. As long as you're content, he'll say yeah.
Yeah. If you're interesting, right, and you don't have to be like good, you just have to be interesting.
I will say too, because Pisco reviewed, he was part of some sort of stream, like prep stream for the defending Trump corruption, and
I was reviewing their prep stream.
It was so stupid. Like, what's $400 million to a billionaire?
Like, what's a $400 million bribe? Why would he care about that, bro?
Also, just your camera just went out.
Oh, I finally succumbed after I'm doing like the 1080p or whatever. That's my cue to go finally relieve myself. But listen, I'm gonna enjoy listening to the remaining 1.5 hours of that conversation. So, did they
before
answer
you go?
questions?
Before you go? Just same thing. On the 17th, I'm going to be at LibCon, and me and Soy Pill are doing some streaming from LibCon. We have a whole room. We're going to get some great guests. We're looking at the list now. But if you wanted to hop on down, either of you wanted
where is
to
it? So where?
It's in DC.
It's in Washington. Okay. What? And it's when is it? The 17th?
The 16th and the 17th. We'd love to. It would be good to hang out. You should come on down, man. You too, Pisco. All of you. Right.
I appreciate it.
On LibCon. Okay. I'll check it out.
See if it's a low likelihood. Probably.
I understand. I get it. I get it. I'm just saying, like, it'd be.
I will also say it's a low likelihood because at the end of the month, I'm actually taking a little vacation. I don't want to brag, but I'm finally gonna be like not streaming for a few days and spending time with family.
And Trump's gonna like resign or die or something.
I was gonna say there's gonna be some huge event, and you're gonna be so salty.
And I'm just gonna be glaring at my wife the whole time, like, God damn it, really?
The one time.
The one time.
Now we're gonna starve.
God, I mean, no, it's fine. I'll quietly slip out and hop a flight back to Charlotte and be like, sorry, we got to prioritize work.
Why do you have a mic?
Okay, well, like I said, it's you don't have to stay the whole time. I don't know where you are actually, but if you want to come to DC and hang out, and you'd be welcome there. Be happy to have you.
I appreciate that, man. And listen, Storm, you keep going. You don't look back. Do not look back. You just keep going right in the direction.
Pondering the politics. Just pondering.
Yeah, and don't talk to Wick about court packing. Don't talk to him. He's gonna lead you astray.
I talk to your favorite person in the server a lot. He's gonna put gang. He's keeping Lactoid in here.
Oh, my boy Lactoid.
Oh God.
Listen, I gotta say, shout out to Lactoid. Like I have such a strange affection for Lactoid. I don't know what it is. He's got a fucking leather jacket. He's in his Wolverine arc. He's in a glow up.
Your strange connection is.
Well, I wasn't gonna be quite so crass. I guess I was just gonna objectify him from afar.
Kentucky boys.
But yeah, I don't know. Just there's something delightful about Lactoid, even when he refuses to. He was actually the first one to tell me, I think, when I started in the space, that he didn't think Trump was corrupt. And I want to know where he stood on that. That's another reason why I was like, I'm hoping Lactoid fights with Pisco on this. But
yeah, we got to reach out to Lactoid at some point.
You should.
Okay. Thanks for.
I want to like have him killed or something, like Dev said.
We're gonna wrap up soon, but I want to give a chance for my callers to ask questions. So
yeah, sure.
Mr. Alfred.
Wait, callers, did anybody have anything for me before I leave? Callers. That's a no. Okay.
Look, keep fighting the good fight, bud.
Say what?
Yeah, the only thing I will say to you, pondering politics, is that if Trump actually had disastrous news or things were blowing up in his face as often as your titles were to suggest, then he wouldn't be president right now. He'd be owned. 6 feet under. Like, but no, good.
Is this guy gonna unmute?
I do.
Wait, you're not hearing him?
Did you not hear me?
No.
He just said,
don't worry, he just made fun of
you. No, I'm fucking with you. Of course I can fucking hear him. Fuck this guy. Fuck you, Cluck. Go cluck yourself, buddy. No, listen. Okay. Listen. You got to play the game, all right?
I know you got to play the game. I know that's why I'm not successful in the space.
It's finished. Listen, he's going to get wrecked. He's going to get wrecked. Now
Scandal will be the one.
Where I will truly cross the Rubicon is if I ever start to do the AI-generated thumbnails like some of my peers. No. They do some of my peers do photorealistic AI images. I remember one guy put a video up probably about a year ago. It was like Trump caught an affair, and it was like a photorealistic AI video or thumbnail of Trump and Carolyn Levitt making out, but it was designed in a way to look like it was a paparazzi shot. It was, yeah. I've not gone that crazy yet, and hopefully I never do. And Liberal Cluck, you can keep me in line if I ever cross that Rubicon. You'd be like, you know what, you've gone too far. You've gone too far.
I got you, Josiah.
We'll see you
All right,
later,
guys.
buddy.
Have a good night.
Later,
Bye.
brother. Peace out.
Okay, Alfred, do you got anything for the panel?
Yeah. I was just I tuned in for like the last like 25-ish minutes of the stream, so I had some like little bullet points. The first one. So when you guys are talking about like why did like harm reduction, voting for Plattner, and like comparing it to Biden and stuff like that. One of the things that like I have to think like intuitively of like you have to think about like the people that are doing the voting, and I feel like first of all, one thing that I always remember when I think about like actual voters is, first of all, young people don't vote for shit. Okay, they're lazy as hell. They have all this energy, they don't use it for anything except Instagram. Most of your voters are like your middle-aged to old-aged, like actually honestly old people. That's who votes, and also like these are people that probably have like pretty strong principles because they're getting up, they're doing something. They're people that have a firm but like probably still somewhat skeptical approach to like how they view the political parties, as in they definitely prefer the Democrats, but like they are still skeptical of like the Democrat Party is not perfect and can make mistakes. They're not like total, bought in people. And so that ethos, I feel like is really undermined when you don't show some follow through and make these sacrifices for the long game. I mean, I understand like that is basically the crux of the question of like how much sacrifice for the short term versus how much for the long term of like beating Trump versus like smaller races.
Can I address that? So I think you're right about. So your intuition is that people aren't like formalizing their ethics or even giving as much specificity as just Wick and I are in this context, and those are kind of like the internal mechanics to explain what my principles are and why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. But part of what's going into my thought process and why I'm rescinding my endorsement of Plattner and why I think it's logical to do so is precisely because I think that you're right, that people aren't able to, many people, disentangle someone's moral character from their voting decision. And so people do have lines in the way that Wick has described. Now, those lines that most average people have in terms of candidate quality, in terms of moral character, those will be relevant to a judgment about the viability of a candidate and the likelihood of that candidate to be able to achieve harm reductionist ends. So it's certainly relevant. And that's part of the reason why I think that we should break away from Plattner. What it's not relevant to is what my ethics are. I think that a lot of voters have irrational lines on voting, and that people they want to fall in love, or they even want basic human decency. Like, it's not even just falling in love. Some people just want basic human decency in their politicians, and they're like, is that too much to ask for? And the answer is sometimes yes, it's too much to ask for. And I'm sorry, I'm unapologetic about that. Notwithstanding everything you're saying that's probably correct about the average voter, it's not changing my ethics, which I think is overall harm reduction. Now, once again, just to reiterate, your observations will feed into my assessment about what is a bridge too far. And what I think a bridge too far is credible accusations of rape among the Democratic candidates, though it doesn't seem to be that for the Republican candidates. But yeah, that's my response.
Yeah. I have a few more points, but I'll try to keep it brief.
Sure.
One thing, so like I'm a big believer that like whenever something goes wrong in like your whatever process you're trying to get done, if any like hiccup in that can almost always be like an opportunity for you to try to pull out something like better. And I feel like it would be so I'm a big huge Tallarico fan just because I really like his balance of like substance politics with like the populist like pathos kind of approach. And one of the huge things that is like a really common point for me to bring up in those conversations is that like he is up against a guy who has at like every turn utilized his like power and influence to like help out people that are unsavory characters. And not only would it take talking points like that away from us, like the worst, I feel like one of the worst things you can do is like give ammo to like both sides people that are always kind of looking for that. And then I realized the counter argument to that is even if you don't give them any ammo, they'll still like make things up about.
Yeah, but it would still harm. I think you have a point to that. Yeah, like the more open and notorious the bad conduct is, the harder it is to defend, even just publicly, right? Like imagine AOC had endorsed Plattner. She would be getting way more. Like right now, people are like, "Oh, she's a savant, a genius for not endorsing Plattner when she did." And so you're not wrong that like, yeah, they're always going to try to make the argument, but whether or not it's effective, I think the facts still matter to people. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I think it's rational now to rescind endorsements, because that is a line. But I think it would be materially different if these allegations never came out.
Yeah. Also, I have 2 questions, and they're sort of more broad.
Hold on. We don't have all night, unfortunately. I want to
give him one more. Give him one more.
One more.
I'll keep it to one question.
One more.
One question. All right. Now I'm trying to pick. These are bangers. So, okay, you know what? I'll tell both, and you guys can pick which one is interesting. Yeah. One of them is how do we feel about like how much we pass the controller, so to speak, to the up and coming progressive and like DSA types, and the other one is like how do we as libs like purity test harder on like USA, Ukraine, other shit versus like seeing how the
I think they're kind of linked.
Farther left have managed to like totally capture on the Gaza stuff. Like we need to do that too, but we don't.
I think these are linked. It's basically to what extent should we be enforcing ideological lines either in the primary or the general, for example, on Ukraine, and how much sort of sway to give to the to the table to people who we kind of view as like upstarts or whatever. The first is to realize where the DSA types are winning with the general election, and on some issues, but not all issues. Crucially, right? I don't think that ideologically they are winning on all issues, but on some areas, the DSA more properly represents the given Democratic position. This is true, I think, for example, if you were to ask them on Medicare for all, I think that the overwhelming position for the Democratic base would be Medicare for all. If you were to ask them that, I think that if you were to ask them who's more aligned,
isn't that like a how you ask it question, but not to be like pedantic, just like
I mean, like I think what he's saying is polls, like I think when you look at specific polls, the Bernie Sanders plan ends up like massively decreasing if you specify what the plan is. That's what I've seen
among Democrats.
Just overall.
I mean, I think
I don't know amongst Democrats specifically, but I think overall it drops down to like 35%.
Maybe I'm wrong about that, but if there was some question that was specified in the way that you think it ought to be specified.
I'm not saying for Democrats. I only know about the overall.
Whether you should like totally take out like all private, like.
Okay, regardless of the I'm not pointing to the fundamental issue to be like they're right about it. I'm just saying that there's a set of issues that the DSA are more in line with the Democratic voters than in others. For example, I think that Ukraine is an issue where the non-DSA types probably are more in line with Democrats than at least, but again, it just ranges because you have people like Daria Liza or whatever who seem to be very like respondent to Russian propaganda and stuff, and a lot more people like Rashida Tlaib who are a lot more skeptical about aid to Ukraine. And so, but like with that, I think that the Democratic base is more aligned with the quote unquote more establishment. But these are kind of like, it just depends on the issue. Given the choice between a candidate who is like not wanting to support Ukraine and one who is, all else equal, I think it should be a huge factor in favor of you to vote for someone who's going to support Ukraine. And so that should play into your primary analysis. The question, though, is when to enforce that ideological line. And I think absent situations like Plattner's that we see now, or situations in which there's no viability of the alternative, that you really should vote blue unless there's a really, really high threshold met. Yeah, I would regrettably vote for anti-Ukraine Democrat versus MAGA. I would vote regrettably for like a Fetterman type over a Republican. So yeah, the time to enforce those lines is in the contest for primary.
Just to offer also a quick counter, I would also say one thing is that I don't think a DSA winning in New York is representative of some broader movement yet. I do think, though, it's indicative of how we're doing with our base. I do not like a lot of these DSA people, and I think in a primary, I hate that they won. Them winning, I don't like. I think Pisco was saying some DSA members are winning on issues that I don't think resonate with their base that well. But I think what it is more specifically like a messaging thing. I think we saw this with Mamdani, where there's some gap between our establishment, which I like the establishment, but clearly there's some gap between them and our fundamental base. We don't do bad in polls because we're doing bad with independents. We do bad in polls because we're doing bad with our base. And I'm not saying that means the DSA are right on issues, but they're right in messaging. We can either say, okay, they're appealing, let's take them in. But if we don't want to take them in, we need to fill the gap that they're filling in. And I think Democrats are right to critique these people, but Democrats are critiquing without changing. And I think that's important. Yeah, if you don't want these people in, you have to. Yeah, if you don't want these people in, you have to adapt your strategy to appeal to these people the way the DSA is, right? And Talarico and Ossoff are great examples of people who were able to do that without necessarily turning it to like populism slop.
Okay.
Yeah.
We do have to. We do have to go. It's 10:30, and we've been going for quite a bit.
You can't let that other guys ask one question at least.
That's what I'm going to do, right? But we have to cut off this line. I want to give one to Lawson.
Yeah.
I want to give one.
Been
to
here
Liberal.
for fucking 2 hours, Wick.
Yeah, Lawson, go ahead. Give us.
I disagree with Pisco. I don't think we should sympathize with Hitler, but I would rape Storm Twink to save 1,000 or 1 million Gaza starving children. So I agree with Pisco's.
It do be your own. It do be your own.
I had something to add like an hour and a half ago, and I forgot. So yeah, but good listening to you guys.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
Wick, why don't you guys just get buckets underneath your desks? Then you don't have to go to the bathroom as much. Nobody would know.
Poop in the bucket. I'm not an animal. I'm not a savage.
Oh, you got to
poop. I have a bathroom. I'm going to use it. That's crazy.
All right.
Okay.
Like the astronaut.
All right.
Being like an astronaut is being an animal, so you hate Mark.
Yeah, dude, you got to be dedicated.
Okay. Liberal club.
All right, I'll catch you guys later.
See you.
Thank you, man.
Bye, buddy.
Well, I just have something to add to the end of what Pisco said, but you said you didn't want to continue that line, so.
Well, no. Do you have a question, or it's your time to shine? Say whatever you like.
Yeah. So I also think that there's an element of like of the Democrats not coming off as like being fighters, and people want fighters, and this is not just like fighting against Trump, but it's like also when they get power, are they actually fighting for the policies that they campaigned on and that they were elected for? And I think that that's my camp. That's kind of where I fall in with my distaste for Democrats.
Yeah, no. So like, first of all, I don't like dislike the Democrats, but it is a feeling that I have that I share. That most of the time where I'm fighting, like the Manchin situation or the cinema situation, acknowledging that Biden is limited in what he's able to do, or pointing to different areas in which we didn't get what we should have gotten. I'm like arguing in favor of Biden's agenda, right? Like when we're talking about the $15 minimum wage, that was Biden's agenda. When we're talking about student debt, you might think these are like stupid policies or whatever. You don't even.
Biden did try. Biden did try on student debt, though.
100%. Yes. So, but like when people are trying to be like, I don't even think it's Biden's fault a lot of these cases, but very often I find myself against either lefties or honestly, even people like Ezra Klein. Ezra Klein, when he released Abundance, he was going on tour talking about BEAD funding as though Biden himself had instituted all these different checks into some of the funding for the internet stuff, when that wasn't the Democrats at all. It wasn't Biden at all. It was the Republicans who put that in as part of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act to get it passed with the numbers they needed, given that they had already used reconciliation for other purposes. So in that area, sometimes I feel like most frustrated, not that the fight isn't happening on the leftist terms, but the fight isn't happening, or to the extent that it's happening, it's not being affected, or we're not winning, right? I'm not blaming Biden necessarily, on Biden's own agenda, or on Kamala's own agenda, or on Obama's own agenda. And so I totally feel that. I think it's a real reflection, not just of how lefties feel on fight, but also liberals.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, sometimes it's unfair because it's not entirely reflective of the options that Biden had available. That doesn't stop the feeling from occurring, though. And it's a real feeling. And guess what? Even I share it. Even someone who acknowledges that Biden was very, very limited, and acknowledges that, in my view, he's the best president of our lifetimes.
And voters feel.
Yeah, honestly, I think that this fight needed to happen in like 2008, when last time we had a supermajority. Like we probably should have just got rid of the filibuster then, so that we could actually do things.
Different world, man.
But okay.
Yeah.
The filibuster is a debate we'll have for another night. But yes,
I'm down for it, Wick.
Okay. Thank you all for being here. Remember, tune in tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern. We have the soy pill versus Deej nuts, and it's going to be the topic: should the U.S. leave NATO? Deej says yes. We're going to get into it. It'll be fun.
MAGA is sending their best with these nuts.
I'll talk to you guys later. Wait, bye-bye, everyone.
Peace out.